anti-government, but I'm very conscious of what the government is capable of.
Oh no,
For sure.
they are more than capable of a lot of things.
There's a lot of sketchy things. I'm gonna need more land.
Right. Sweet. Real quick, so I am a mom, but I don't advertise that at all. I keep that private. So like
Okay.
that's just like the only thing that I don't want to talk about is like me being not that I'm like ashamed of it. It's more of a privacy safety
Yeah,
thing. Like
no
People don't
problem,
need
no
that.
problem at all.
Yeah, no, people don't need that kind of stuff. That's fine. We'll
right.
we'll
Yeah.
leave it alone there.
Yeah, like stuff like that's it was only if you ever wanted to like volunteer that information. And I'm not going to be like, where were you born and what was your date of birth? You know, like
What is your child's name? And their
I'm a
favorite
Libra.
food?
what was your mother's maiden name? Like,
Right.
What is your child's favorite course in school?
Like, no, we're good. Don't worry. Like,
No, yeah, some people can be like weird about it. So like I'm just like, we're not gonna talk about this.
no, people don't need to know about that. As far as they're
Right.
concerned, you're the will-made manifest of the Libertarian Party.
That's fair.
I used to tell people that in cadets, like, "Oh, where are you from?" Because summer camp was the same thing. We wanted anonymity, and they'd always ask me, "Oh, where the hell are you from? Where are you from?" I am the will-made manifest of the Queen. I am here. I was born and raised on the base. I do nothing but train. That's what I do. I log out at the end of the day. My brain shuts off. I wake back up. I train some more, and that's just how it goes.
That's fair. That's fair. Granted, I do like bragging about being in Alaska. So
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, no, you can totally own the whole Alaska thing. Just
oh
you
yeah.
don't have to divulge the rest. You know.
All right.
Now,
Go
full
ahead.
disclosure before we start here, I am taking a bong rip, so
It's not against any of the streaming services that I care about being on.
well, no,
Terms of
I'm
service.
Canadian, man. I'm Canadian. The shit's
It's
legal here.
completely legal up here, so it
Yeah.
like doesn't even faze me.
It
Yeah.
is here now too, which just surprised me because I was
Yeah,
I was adamant that Virginia was going to be like one of the last 5, and then they went from like absolute like I thought they were going to decriminalize, and then eventually they were just like fuck it, legal. And they had the funny thing is they had nothing set up for any of it, like for them to benefit from it being legal. They were just like, well, we're just gonna make it legal, and we forgot that we did this because we want to we want to tax the hell out of it. And
there's no
so
tax programs or
there-
anything set up.
dude, there was no licensing. Like they were just like they were
Wow.
just like they were like, well, technically
I
it's
wish we
not
had that.
yeah, right. Technically it's not illegal, but they would probably like shut down like grow ops that didn't like get their illegal fucking clemency for it. I don't know. It was such a confusing 6 months until they like the next law cycle went through. Like I'm like, you guys are crazy. But then they really upset me because they said that they were not going to issue licenses based on equality, but equity, and that they were going to specifically give licenses to African Americans first. And I was like, that is the most racist shit ever.
Like, yeah, hold on a second. That's
You can
kinda
only
saying
fry chicken
something.
if you're black.
Oh,
Yeah, that's kind of saying something, right? Like, hold on, that's a little fucked up. Like, hey, look, I understand because you're a part of this racial community, you guys are probably going to want to grow your pot first, so we're just going to go ahead and let you.
Well,
like, dude, what?
And their reasoning was, and like I partially understood their reasoning is that because for generations they were put down financially, socially, and everything, but like. Yeah, but by making this legal, you're helping to heal all of that.
Make it worse.
But you don't specifically say like, okay, well, because you're black, you must be misfortuned, and like that's how it comes off to me. Like the whole Go ahead.
That's not even what I'm hearing, all right? You know what I'm hearing? Well, a lot of you black guys like to smoke weed, so here, you can just go ahead and grow it on your own. Like, that's what I'm hearing. That's how it comes across to me. I'm like, whoa, hold on, fuck up. Like, I know more white people at this point to smoke weed than black people. Like, why are you just gonna go for them? Like, what? They're no. Like,
I just want them to bring back menthols first.
word.
Oh, you don't have menthols?
Oh, dude, flavored fucking anything, specifically like in Canada, flavored anything, it's all banned. Flavored cigarettes, flavored fucking cigars. I can't even get Swisher Sweets anymore, man.
I wouldn't smoke anymore, dude. Like,
I don't. I vape and I blaze.
wait, you don't have menthol in Alaska now?
I mean, I don't smoke, so like
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't seen it, but
Yeah, well, no, I know
Like-
I know they said that they were going to initiate the menthol ban, and then I guess they realized that their like controlled voter base was like, fuck no, like that is the line, okay? You can fucking tax the hell out of us, you can fucking kill us and make laws that fucking detrimentally impact our demographic, but god damn it, you will not take our fucking menthol cigarettes.
And like, don't get me wrong. They did away with menthol, but they have something called Coolada, or I can't remember what the fuck they call it now. It's basically menthol, but it's like a slightly different version of it, so they're able to get around the legality. And like, it's the same concept, but I'm not gonna lie to you, it's fucking terrible. Like, I would much rather just have a standard menthol cigarette with that just traditional fucking menthol burn.
So what you're telling me is that there is possible profit to be made by running menthol cigarettes into Canada?
No. You know what there is to be made there, buddy? There's
Mounties.
fucking Mounties and CSIS, and CSIS doesn't fuck around. Neither does CBSA or the Mounties. And in fact, the RCMP have an international reputation for getting their man, because they will go to whatever fucking country and like, I'm not even kidding. This is like their international motto. Like, they're known for it. They will go to whatever country, extradition or not, and they will grab the fucker and take him back. Like, it's just how they roll.
yeah, I've gone through Canada before actually, and like getting into Canada was way harder than getting into the US.
Oh yeah,
And like
no,
it's insane. Like we did all the paperwork for like guns that we had and stuff, but then I didn't even think of it, but we had one of those blades that like you hit the button and it's like swing,
Switchblade.
but it's spring loaded.
100% illegal. 100%.
Yeah,
illegal.
I would have never thought. And we had to surrender it to the crown. And I'm like,
Oh
are you
yeah.
fucking serious?
Oh yeah. And that's the best part. You
God
don't
damn it,
surrender
the
it to
queen
the
took
government
my
or anything.
knife.
Yeah, that's exactly how they do it. They don't tell you like, oh yeah, we're taking this because of blood. No, you're surrendering this to the crown, and like that's
Yes.
it. It's just it's
I'm like,
become.
do you know who I am?
Like, we don't give a shit. It's the queen. It's her rules. We're going to enforce them. Congratulations, she has a new knife.
Like fuck off, bro. Like, we all know it's
Yeah.
going in a bin at the back. They're probably going to sell them for like fucking $15 on the American side of the border later tonight. Like,
Right. Uh,
fucking wild. Okay, I'm gonna take this out.
Okay.
Wait, keep going.
yeah. So, but
Great.
getting into Alaska,
Fucking wild. Okay,
it
I'm
was
gonna take
just
this out.
no problem. Like we barely
Keep going,
flashed
keep going.
our passports.
so
and, like
great.
getting
Okay,
into
whatever.
Alaska. I'm like,
Fucking wild.
you know how much maple syrup we could be smuggling in the back of our truck here? Like we
Right?
could have grabbed like a few
Fucking wild.
beavers or
I'm gonna
something.
take this out.
You don't want
Wait,
to
keep
check.
going, keep going.
Yeah. So
I had the same thing, and it's funny because like I'm a Canadian.
mhm.
I've gone to these states a couple times here, and going over is normally a joke. You know, hey, what are you coming for? Coming to visit. All right, you gonna buy stuff? Yep. Make sure you declare it. Okay, and that's it. You go through. You come back. Holy shit! Where were you? Who did you see? What did you buy? How much did you spend? Did you spend Canadian money? Are you bringing it back? Did you pay your taxes? Did you vote last year? And they're like everything they can think of. They'll just like throw it at you. It's so much more intense. Like, I've
Yeah.
never been asked that kind of fucking like interrogation, basically, except that hour border.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Well, you know what's
fucking-
funny is that like, and then at the same time, Canada has the duty-free stores on the border. There's just like, yeah, fuck it. They're like, go there. Don't even claim that shit. Fuck them, bud. They don't need the fucking
Well-
taxes.
so I think there's a logic behind it, right? Here's what I'm thinking. I think they've got the duty-free stores there to prevent us from just going to the US. Because like a lot of the times, I'm not even gonna lie to you, buddy. We go down there to grab shit that we can't buy, or because it's cheaper. Well, if they sell it at the fucking duty-free store,
Well, no, you guys,
I don't have to worry anymore.
you guys can't buy from the duty-free store. That's the
No, we can.
thing. Well,
Yeah, we can.
okay. Well, when I went last time I went to Canada, you had to show a foreign ID in order to make a purchase. Like you and you couldn't even go
Which-
back into Canada because like the duty free store is like before the border crossing, and the exit, like you pull your car in, you can't turn around, and and
Well,
so
okay,
like
so which border crossing did you go to?
Niagara.
That might be why. Like here, like specifically where I am, like because I'm in the middle of the fucking country, right? Like I can pull into any one of the border crossings, and there's not much of a beef. Like Maybe they've changed it recently, but the last time I went, and we're talking probably like 10, 15 years ago now. So there's a good chance I'm talking out of my ass now. It's all wrong. But last
It-
time I went, yeah, we pulled into the duty free store and just grabbed some Canadian goodies and some American goodies before we even hopped on the fucking plane.
I remember they had this gigantic bottle of Hennessy. Like, I mean, it was so big.
Texas, mate.
It came on a fucking like
Little wire stand.
yes, dude.
Yeah,
And
man,
and
yeah.
it was like 2 gallons or some shit. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it
Okay,
was
so we sell those up here. You know what we call them?
what?
We call them Texas Mickeys.
Texas.
My word.
Mickeys.
Yeah, it's like fucking gallons of liquor. Like it's normally it's the thing you buy for like a wedding, you know? You set it up on the table next to the cake or whatever. Like, all right, let's get shitted. You just start pouring out of this fucking like liter or gallon fucking size container. Yeah, no. You can buy them, but they're not worth the price. It's like dummy money for that. Okay, all I can see is the reflector from my screen and my fucking glasses, so I'm gonna not do that so viewers don't have to stare at that. But yeah.
Oh, it looks like an
Speaking of-
anime where it's like, and it's bright.
Well, straight up, yeah. Like every time I look, I'm like, all I see is white. I'm like, okay, it's not good. It's people probably want to see where I'm looking, you know, like actually make sure that I'm paying attention and not just fucking anime the whole time. All right. Speaking of, I have a couple topics in mind for today. Anybody else have anything they wanted to go over? We're getting close to that time. We should probably start, sir.
I think I'd posted some stuff. Apparently we are live on Twitter. Okay. So yeah. I gotta see how that works because
Twitter.
yeah, well, yeah, like I tweeted, like I did the stream key and then I tweeted it and oh, I didn't even tag you in it. Oh fuck. Okay.
I'm about to reshare it.
Okay. It doesn't have video. It's just the audio. I don't know why I don't know why they don't have it set up to where we can do spaces through StreamKey. Like because spaces is popping. I like it, and like you get a lot of community interaction. So that I mean, I'm hoping they're working on that. I mean, I've seen a lot of people like, you know, at Elon Musk. They're like, hey, like this is a big thing. Like, you know, if you're gonna have something like that, because nobody wants to do it on the fucking phone. I don't want to set up my Android emulator to fucking do it. Like yeah, no.
I really want them to fix the stages here in Discord.
Oh, the stages need to be able to have the same audio quality. I can understand scaling back if you like beyond a certain number of members, because then they're gonna get connection issues. But at the same time, we could have like as many people in this chat and using the same resources. Like, it's
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. It's fucking wild.
hey, we did have a few subjects. Well, I mean, I did at least. Because throughout the week we just post stuff that we want to talk about. Israel being behind the drone strike on Iran factory.
Oh, I'm terrible on foreign policy.
Okay, no,
now-
that's fine.
Is this tinfoil or is this verified?
I'm just I'm just reading through this from Reuters, so I would assume that it's somewhat verified. But it's also Reuters, so
I was gonna say it's Reuters, yeah. So it's probably like half cooked, half verified. You know, a little tweaked, little exaggerated.
we don't have to talk about that. Let's not go into that one.
Well, like it's an interesting one. We can touch on it on the basis that we don't know anything about it. Just kind of like, hey, we've heard about this. This is what is being said. I wonder what's actually going on. Like that's safe, but to just flat out be like, yeah, man, Israel bombed them. Like that's might be a little far, you know.
Yeah, like
It's-
like we're repping the Ayatollah over here and shit. Like,
Yeah, you know, like it's good to acknowledge foreign things, especially stuff like this, so people might not hear or talk about it all. But we don't necessarily want to be biased on it, especially when there's no information yet. We can't just go out with an
didn't you
informative.
hear, dude? Didn't you hear that we are Trump loving supporters? Like,
Oh, I saw that
Oh.
post.
Hey, no, like I wanted to mention this again, like. So the lady that I'm seeing here, she listened to that episode of Spike Cohen, and her first reaction was it's very masculine and very conservative, was
Okay.
the exact
Yeah,
reaction that
yeah.
he had. And I thought
And
that was
and I will, and like I told you and I had that conversation privately. Like,
yeah.
I it is in a, and I would say in a, like from an American perspective or Canadian perspective, that like it tends to be more conservative politically, but
Well, because keep in mind, like up here, there, like the Libertarian Party isn't really a thing up here. Like it's not well known. People aren't familiar with it. To those that aren't aware or familiar with it, it just kind of feels more conservative leaning than anything. I think that's more so where she was going.
yeah, and
Even
that I'm fine with, like saying that, because a lot of my ideals fall more conservatively, but don't call me like fucking tell
It's Trump lover.
squeezy
Hey,
Jibs of
hey.
all people that I'm trying to get on the podcast,
Yo,
that I am
two
a
hosts,
Trump
right?
lover.
There's two hosts here, eh?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
fairly
yeah.
certain they know that you're a staunch libertarian, but I'm a conservative.
I
And
am not
frankly,
a
I don't
staunch
mind.
libertarian.
Well, not only that, last time I checked, Spike and Trump were political opponents on the same ballot.
Yeah, right.
So let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, but
No, like
I'm not like
for all we know,
I have
he may have
been.
been talking about me because, like, we've talked about Trump before, and I don't mind the idea behind it. Like, he was trying to run the United States as a business, which is unfortunately what the country needs right now.
Yeah,
And
but I said, I'm gonna wait for you to add on later, but like you haven't said anything on here that would lead me to believe that you're like a like a big Trump supporter. like that you're like fucking wearing a MAGA hat and fucking going balls to the
yeah,
wall for
yeah,
Trump.
like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not like I have buddies that are like that, which is wild because I'm in Canada. But like, I'm not
See
that
that right there,
invested.
That's what I said, is that you don't really care because it's not in Canada. Like it's
Yeah, like
not
it's
Canadian
well,
politics.
and like here's where it gets wild. Like a lot of my buddies do care about American politics, but like no offense, I can't really be bothered. I understand you guys are one of our largest political and trading partners. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we're like basically sister countries in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like an old couple living above a meth shack. And like I'll always say hi when I walk past, because I don't want you to stab me or anything. But I'm probably not going to invite you up for dinner, kind of shit. Like I'll pay attention as you guys are pulling out of the parking lot, but I'm never going to stop and be like, "Oh, it was your birthday last week, right?" Like, just
No, I get it. I feel like that way too because our politics is actually different than the lower 48 and a lot of times, but we're roped in with the rest of the US. And
yeah,
so I totally get what you mean. Sometimes it's like, no, that's not what we feel like up here. Like, come on.
yeah. Well, it's like we're very, very similar countries, but we're very different in a lot of aspects as well. Like Spike put it last time that he was saying we're effectively a socialist state. Like a lot of our stuff is mandated at a government level to the point that we don't really have to worry. Like healthcare, for example, education. Like it is all provided at a near socialist level. But in the same sense, we're taxed on that same level. There's all the other fun stuff that comes with it. There's like Bill C-11, Bill C-21. Bill C-11 is a spooky one. Like I wanted to touch on that today if you guys are even familiar with it.
No, the only Canadian politics I've like paid attention to is First Nation issues for the most part
Yeah.
because it's very similar to the US, like very, very similar. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
totally open to that.
Bill C-11. Are you recording like on your end there now, Kyle? Or are
Yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Happened.
Okay. Okay. Bill C-11 is a new liberal kind of pushed from the liberal government specifically. It's a new bill pushed to center Canadian media, and they're going to go so far as to suppress media from other countries to make sure that Canadian content is pushed first. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because it is, and it does happen in other countries, namely China. And this is a thing that like it's gaining momentum. Yeah, they've been trying to pass it for a long time now. It's basically in the final stages of deliberation where they're going to be going through the amendments and trying to chop out what they don't want and what they do want. But the point is that it's made it this far, and it's no longer killing the bill, it's killing aspects of it. So no matter what, we're gonna be roped into this. Our media is going to change whether we like it or not, unless we're able to remove the party in power from power and remove Canada from being the state back to Canada, But that goes hand in hand with another one that I'm kind of excited is also being killed, but it's the same thing. We're only killing amendments on it. We're not killing the actual bill. Are you guys familiar with Bill C-21?
Nope.
Bill C-21 is the anti-firearms bill. So we
Oh, is that
actually
the
have
hunting one?
it targets everything.
Okay.
So it started originally against assault weapons because of everything that was going on in the world with weaponry. Now, that personally bothers me because anything can be an assault weapon. If I swing this cup at somebody, this is an assault class. Like that's the problem. Like every weapon is an assault weapon by definition. You're going to assault something with it. The whole point of it is to inflict damage. But he's targeting basically everything that he can. But the nice part that we're at right now, and this is again kind of not really a nice part, but I guess a good part. Like we're no longer killing the bill; we're killing amendments on it. So the bill is still being passed. There's still a massive list of firearms that have been classified as restricted, and you can no longer purchase, you can no longer transfer all of it. However, we have been able to fight them enough that a lot of the newer amendments, specifically the stuff from 2022, a list of like, I think it was like 500 or something firearms, have actually been repealed. So we now have access to those rifles again. The buyback program that they're trying to instate, which I'll touch on too, is no longer going to touch those weapons. But like it's the frustrating part is that we're no longer at the point of fighting the entire bill. We're just fighting to keep, certain weapons. That shouldn't be the case. Our weapons shouldn't be infringed upon in the slightest. Granted, it's not a right for us as it is for you, but living where we do with the lifestyles that we have, it kind of makes sense to have the ability to hunting weaponry or even defense weaponry if you live in some remote area. What are you going to do against a bear? You really going to shoot a firework at it? You think he's really going to if the cubs are nearby and that bear wants you dead, it's you or him, and without a weapon it's you. Like,
Well, and it's a Canadian bear. He's gonna be like, "Hey, fuck you, bud. What is that? A fucking firework?"
It's like, not a fucking 9mm, you little goof. Get over here, bud. Let me give you a hug, and he'll just fucking just crush you like you're toast. Like it's all there is to it.
Right.
Your final word will be like, "Thanks, Trudeau." You're toasted. Like, and like that's the biggest thing. And I understand. Okay, yeah, there is violence. Yeah, okay, there are gangs and whatever. But like, they're not getting their stuff from the store. Like banning this stuff from the store, that's not going to change a thing. Like, I don't want to be that asshole, but a lot of that stuff comes from the U.S. Sorry, I got a cough there. But like
Specifically the CIA and the ATF and, all that other stuff.
I wouldn't want to go there, but like just
Oh, I'll go there.
But exactly, like we're targeting law-abiding citizens and removing their right to do what has been recreational and proactive lifestyles, like survival lifestyles. People that want to hunt, somebody wants to go out and hunt deer or moose and provide for his own family without having to go through some corporation or some other farm or whatever. They're trying to make it not a thing to be able to do anymore. They're trying to just slowly claw all of these fucking, again, not rights. Sorry, pardon the language. I normally swear. The whole Spike podcast, so we didn't swear at all, and I'm wondering if that should be like the new format.
I didn't swear. There's
we
no way.
we barely swore, man. Like I kept myself pretty clean, and I tried to drop a couple pardon the languages when I did drop them.
Well, man, I mean, Spotify probably would be happy if not every one of our episodes wasn't contains explicit
Okay,
language.
when I watched that episode, I was like, wow, this is a very respectable podcast. All right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, That's why I'm thinking like season 2, like maybe we don't have to be as
We're both
as
we're gentlemen now.
as Kyle as we normally are. Is it?
Yeah. Maybe we don't have to be as as Kyle as we normally are. Yeah. I don't know about the whole bow tie. I have a bow tie. Fuck with me. I'll wear one at some point. You want to?
You know what? I'm gonna go get a dress shirt right now. Okay, you guys hold on. I'm going to get a dress shirt. All right, we got to be respectable.
Hold on. We'll change in shifts then. We'll let him go first. We'll let him get his shirt on, and then I'll go grab one. I guess we'll just keep the respectful. But yeah, no, like I don't know. Canada's in a weird state right now, and like I'm sure you get to see some of it being right next to BC and Yukon right there.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit different for the territories. Like they're able to maintain their autonomy a little bit better. Like our country is supposed to be set up in a way that the federal government doesn't actually have as much power as it does now. They're supposed to just kind of maintain funding, kind of general order. That's not a shirt. That's a blazer.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
dapper gentleman here.
The Goodwill
Most
special,
dapper
sir. The
style I've
Goodwill,
ever
the
seen.
Goodwill special.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay.
If we're
Well-
gonna look clean, we're gonna look clean.
All right. Well, thing is, it's cold here, so I'm wearing a hoodie. If you guys want, it's a nice Alaskan hoodie. So,
I actually like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of cool design there. Looks backwards on the video, but that's fine.
So like you said not to get too personal, like where about in Alaska are you from, and like is it more of like, I mean, because most people in Alaska live in the city, like kind of, don't they?
Yeah, like a significant portion of Alaskans live in Anchorage. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, I guess to put it in perspective, when people talk about Illinois, immediately people think about Chicago, and like Chicago's different than the rest of Illinois. If you talk about folks from Illinois,
Yeah.
like that's not Illinois. That's kind of how it is almost here. Anchorage is a little different, especially like with politics and everything going on. Although most of the people live there, I am like an hour north of Anchorage. I've actually ran for office, so people know like kind of where I live and stuff because I advertised it on my social medias and everything. But yeah, so I'm like in the Matsu Valley, and that's um, I was raised for the most part in this area. I came back after college, and I'm living here now. And yeah,
So you're Inuit descent,
N-
right?
no,
No?
I'm actually Yupik. So there's several different types of Eskimos.
Okay.
Inuit is kind of, they might be the more main one population wise, but
Okay.
there's also Inuit is more Canadian Eskimo, and then Alaskan Eskimo. You see Inupiaq and Yupik are the two main ones. There's also like smaller ones like Chupik, Siberian Yupik, and a few other ones. But yeah, so
Okay.
I'm Yupik Eskimo.
Okay, yeah, because like it's kind of like here you had the Powhatan, but it was the Patawomac, oh my god, yep, just
I get what you mean.
yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
so different tribes within like the nation, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and slightly different dialects, but pretty similar. I mean, like in terms of like borders and stuff, it was very different when it comes to like First Nation, indigenous
Oh yeah,
borders
well
and
yeah,
tribes and everything.
and the
So
thoughts of like how borders are is totally different in because I mean
right.
really it's like I don't want to like speak wrongly, but like basically like Mother Earth is like, or like the Mother Spirit is who holds the land and everything, and it can't really be owned, but
Yeah, depending on what tribe you're from, it's kind of like a similar mentality. Like for us, it
yeah,
was
okay,
like
yeah.
the raven created the earth and all that stuff. But yeah, so I'm Yupik Eskimo. So if you look at Alaska, which is gonna be a little backwards on there, we're like, oh, I guess I could show my sweater. It's like more of this region. That's where the Yupiks. That's
He's
it.
fucking wearing a tie.
Hey, hold on. You said you wanted to clean up. This guy's like, oh, I'm gonna go grab a dress shirt. Who the fuck wears a dress shirt without a tie, man? Let alone a nice one.
Hey,
Come
listen,
on, buddy.
my court
Come on.
clothes are packed away. It's been almost 3 years. All right.
Court clothes, bro. Okay, hold on. Then we gotta get you some nicer clothes there, my dude.
No,
You should have you should have at least like an arm full of dress shirts you can just kind of pick through.
I
and
have
then,
some
like, a
dress
fistful of
shirts,
ties.
okay? I have like the whole end of my rack that I never use, which is kind of funny that you bring this up, and I hope Sydney's listening, because she was like, "Oh, let's go eat at this place last night." I was like, "Okay," but like, it's after work, long week, so I'm in my sweatpants and my pajama shoes and my work shirt still. And we go to this place, and it's inside this old like ritzy freaking place in downtown historic Fredericksburg, and there's like music going on and stuff, and which is really weird because the place that we were going to get food from is like inside there but not part of the like the fancy bar and stuff. And I'm like, I am way too underdressed to be in here. Like, dude, I was having a panic attack, bro. I was like, what? Like, people looking at me like looking like, I'm telling you, I was wearing pajama shoes, bro. Like, I was so fucking embarrassed.
Yeah,
She was like, do you want to eat here? I was like, no.
We'll go eat in the car or something. Maybe not quite here. This is a little much.
Oh, like we can come back here and I can, get a little dressed up,
Yeah, let me put on like at least a sweater and like I don't know some shoes,
comb my beard or something. Like,
just like anything,
That's how I feel every time I visit Anchorage and we go out to eat. I'm like, oh, I totally look like a Valley girl, which like Valley girl up here means something different than down in like California.
I was gonna say I don't know if that carries the same meaning.
In Alaska, people know what a Valley girl is. It's like someone like more the redneck area of Alaska out in the Matsu Valley. So I just looked at it and I was like, great.
Actually, I'm thinking about this. I actually have a buddy who lives in Alaska. He's in one of the larger cities in kind of the cape that cuts into the north there. I think he's along that kind of coastline there. But yeah, he talks all kinds of stuff about that place. It sounds like an amazing area to visit. I've seen kind of all around Canada. I've been to quite a few places in the US as well, but Alaska is one place I have yet to venture to. And it
Yeah,
sounds like it'd be interesting. Because
Yeah.
again,
for sure.
yet to actually hear anything bad about Alaska yet. Like,
I mean, we do have bad stuff, but I'm not going to
don't get me wrong,
advertise it.
like,
But
yeah, no, like, every place has
Right.
those things naturally, right?
I
But
mean,
like
there's
when
parts.
you,
No, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go for
There's
it.
parts of Alaska that are the Florida of the North. Like,
Yeah, no, like even in Canada, right? Like there are some places that are like not safe to walk around at night. Like it's Canada, but like there are things, like every place has it. But like with that being said, a lot of times if there is something horrible with that place, it's like the first thing they'll jump off with. Like, okay, by the way, just before you know, like, and then they'll lead in with whatever. But I've never had anything like that with Alaska. It's just always like chill stuff. Like if I ask or I'll dig, like, oh yeah, it's a thing. Like of course there's crime. Like we're humans. Like
yeah.
Right.
like yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you
but
tell me
that's-
that there's a city that doesn't have any crime, I'm gonna be sketched the fuck out. Like
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
don't
be
believe
like, what the fuck's going on there? And like,
Like-
I'm gonna be afraid to go there probably.
Yeah, it's like either they legitimately don't have crime because the people are just like at that point of society, or there's like 3 cops per person and they're just like everywhere.
I will say for Alaska, this is where people go to escape the government a lot of times, or they escape because they did bad stuff in the lower 48. So we actually have the highest concentration of serial killers than any other state. So
Whoa.
there's that.
That's-
That's because they're coming up here to hide.
That's-
Usually they're at that point in their
you know what?
character arc.
Hey, like honestly, at that point, like if they're trying to hide, they're probably not killing anymore. So I mean, you're probably safe. Like you said, at that point, in their
Well-
character arc, they're either going for redemption or they're going to like fizzle out. And either way, you should be safe.
Or they're going for like the lone hiker in the Alaskan wilderness.
Oh,
that
God.
Yeah.
he must have gotten hit by a bear. Oh,
Yeah, they're gonna go track down the hippie that went up there looking for UFOs.
Right. Oh, it's so dark. But yeah, no, I mean, what's really funny is like people talk about Alaska, oh, Alaska. And then the thing that like actually what really grinds my gears, no, they like, I want to go up there and take an Alaskan cruise. And I'm like, no, that's not Alaska. Especially with like what the cruise ships do to our water here in like Alaska. And they're like, oh, I saw Alaska. And it's like, no, you didn't like go into there. You just looked at it from,
No,
the
it's
ship.
just
I saw ice fall off a glacier. It was very beautiful. And then I never stopped in the town even to
Right, especially since those cruise ships, like, not a lot of money comes to us. A lot of money,
Yeah.
like people that working there, and where all the money goes, like a lot of it goes to those companies. And outside of the U.S., it's like actually come to Alaska. Like they're like scared to like come ashore almost. Like, oh, I just saw some caving glaciers or whatever. Also, a lot of people see that as like global warming. It's like no, glaciers move. It's just at that point that they've made it to the water, and so they're just gonna fall into the water. That's what happens.
Yeah, like I was always a huge fan of Deadliest Catch, and I was dead set that I was gonna go work on a crab boat in Alaska, and then I had a kid, and I was like, I don't want to die. Like,
Yeah, as a
Just
they pay you
possibilities.
good money.
oh
but
yeah, like
Hell yeah, they
you
do.
go up there for like literally a couple weeks and come back with 120 grand as
Well, yeah, but
as a regular deckhand.
Yeah, now in that couple weeks, you also stared death in the face like 43 times and then kicked it the nuts twice. Like, yeah, no, there's a reason you make that kind of
yeah,
money.
and you work like a dog.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you barely sleep, you eat like shit, you're frozen and wet the entire time you're there. There's a like the ship itself almost poses more of a risk than anything else. Like a fucking arm can swing across, a good
Oh
wind
yeah.
can take a basket across the deck. Like your homie could get pissed and just swing at you. Like you're stuck with these people there for how long? Like
Yeah.
no,
Right.
that's terrible. Fuck it. Stick me in a submarine instead. Like that
Right.
seems like a more logical
Yeah,
thing. At
no,
least the only
no,
thing that's gonna
no.
go wrong there is it's gonna go catastrophic and we're all toast, you know?
Yes.
Like that's
We will all die together when we go.
Right, or, like, one of your coworkers is, like, working too hard. It's like, all work, no play, you know? It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, there
right,
you
no.
go. Yeah, if you catch somebody starting to write notes, the same thing on a piece of paper like 50 times, just be conscious. Start being nice to that guy.
Just jump in the lifeboat right now.
Yeah, either jump in the lifeboat or just make sure that like he
At the
knows that you're
beginning.
his friend, you know? Like
Yeah, be like,
make
you're
sure that
not
you're like
you're not on one of the crews that Discovery Channel has. Like, you could be fucked.
yeah, no, like
You're
if
wearing
it
the
ever
red uniforms in Star Trek.
oh my god. Yeah, if you're given the red shirt, if you're just given an ensign, if you're a red uniform, you just look him dead in the face and say, I quit. I don't care what I can't just leave. I need to be discharged. Punch him in the face. There you go, discharge me.
I know my rights.
Exactly.
Your
I'm-
rights
I'm
don't
outta
matter
here.
out here in international waters. No, it's like,
Oh god.
Oh god.
Oh, for
I mean,
real
well,
though.
that's the unsettling part. They don't. It's international waters. Like anything
We
goes.
laugh,
Like,
but
that's genuinely how that works. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you
then-
go far enough off the
well,
coast,
yeah,
and,
and you come across a fucking Japanese whaling boat, and all hell breaks loose.
no. Okay, hold on. There's something that's, and I'm going to use this to tie into another topic here. There's something that's been happening in the world, and I don't want it to seem like we're focusing on one country, but there's one country that's been doing a lot of stuff internationally there. There are boats, and I'm not going to say the country's name until we get to the end of it, but I'm sure you'll be able to piece it together. There are boats that for a while now have been going into international waters and then into national waters. So they'll go into countries' territories, India, Japan. They'll even go so far as to go around over to some parts of Africa and just fish the waters. People will ask them to stop. They don't care. The only time they actually do anything is when officials, government normally show up to try and say, "Hey, you know what's going on here? Give them a ticket or whatever." And then they turn around, fucking hightail it into international waters. Sorry, pardon the language. Trying to get used to this whole clean air podcasting, but they'll book it off into international
Dollar
waters
swear
where they
word.
don't, where they don't have to worry about these agencies or these officials chasing them. Now, some countries have developed a new doctrine. They instead just blow them up, like on site, like no contact, nothing, not even the chance to flee into international waters to go back home. They just blow them the hell up, which is, don't get me wrong, it's intense, but I mean, when they don't listen and you can't communicate at all, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these are like fishers, like standard civilians just doing whatever. Like these are state-run boats that are being sent out there. These are like party-managed boats sent out to fish wherever they want. And yeah, no, like they're just being blown the hell up.
That changes my perspective on it. Like the whole
Yeah.
time, I'm like, damn, dude, you're fucking
Yeah, hold on, yeah, I
authoritarian there
wanted
for
to
a second. I'm like,
clarify that.
holy shit.
I wanted to clarify that. No, these are
Yeah.
these
Little
are
fucking fisherman
state-
John just fucking
Yeah.
like accidentally goes into fucking fucking some other country's waters. They're like,
Yeah,
fuck
no.
you, buddy.
just boom, blown out of the water. No. Like regular civilians, you know, they'll pull up. Well, that's the difference, right? Like a civilian, if they don't know that they're doing anything, you know, an official pulls up, they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, I'm sorry, what did I do?" The official's gonna come up, be like, "You're not in your territory. This is so and so country. You must leave now." And they'll be like, "Oh my god, I'm fucking sorry," and they'll leave. You know,
Sorry.
but these
I'm
other
sorry.
people, like these state-run ones, will just sit there. They don't give a shit. There's no remorse whatsoever. And then when the officials finally show up, like I said, they'll hightail it so they can't face any persecution. So these countries have just started to say, "Fuck it," and they're just blowing them the hell up. Care to make a guess as to which country is doing this? Not the countries that are blowing them up, but the country that is being blown up for fishing other people's waters.
Don't know.
It's a
I mean,
country
I'm pessimistic enough to say the US, but then I also think of Japan because of how much
No.
fishing is involved, really.
Nope. This is okay. So I'll leave it as a guess for right now, listeners. If you've got it, 5 points and a high five to you. But the other tidbit. Now this is probably going to point more at it, but this is where it gets interesting because the next tidbit isn't confirmed, but basically anybody in any government across the world is like, yeah, this is them. There's balloons casually just floating across like half the fucking planet right now
Oh my god.
with like no explanation except for like every official being like, this seems like something these people would do. And so
Okay.
this was my funny part. It started up here. We were the first one to notify, and then we pinged it up to NORAD. So our D&D flagged it, pinned it, passed it up. NORAD commented on it, passed it off, started monitoring it through the US as well. I don't know if you know about this. We pinged, I think, at least one more, if not a second one as well, also doing the same crap that we passed off to NORAD, but those aren't getting any coverage. And
I
those,
know that there's 3 balloons so far.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and so from what I heard, one is in Latin America or Southern America.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the 3rd one, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the first one for sure that we've seen kind of floating around that people are making memes about at this point. And then there's one or two. I think I want to say there's 2 others that D&D, like our Department of Defense, pinged, and then passed up to NORAD. There, one of them for sure is I'm thinking the other one that you were thinking there, one of the 3.
But-
and then yeah, I'm not sure.
But you know
But-
what's funny?
Hmm.
Is like what are you worried about the balloons for? You know
What do you mean? What am I worried about the balloons for?
Do you know how many like satellites China has over our countries right now?
Do you
Like-
realize the difference in resolution and image clarity between being 500 meters off the deck and 5,000 kilometers
yeah,
in atmosphere?
I
Like, don't get
get
me
that.
wrong; those satellites are good, but there's a whole other level worth of intelligence able to be collected by those balloons. We don't even know if it's just cameras. Like that's the thing. We're in the future. Like they could have
Future's now.
that's yeah, like the future's fucking now. Like they could have like some nutty ass form of fucking X-ray for all we know on those things. Like they probably don't, but like we're at the point where technology is it's rapidly what the hell? Not increasing, it's getting better.
Advanced, rapidly
Advancing,
advancing.
thank you.
Yes.
It is rapidly advancing at an exponential rate. It's at the point where we're seeing progress that we've never seen before. 100 years ago, we couldn't even we were barely even flying, and we have space stations. And Musk is talking about building a colony on fucking Mars. Like this is what I mean. Like we have actually no idea what is on those balloons. For all we know, these balloons are just some hoax. It's some kid in like I don't know.
Oh, you
like,
had
Kazakhstan
I've been
put up,
thinking
like-
about it, dude. If I didn't
Yeah,
think I was
like-
gonna get in trouble, like I'd fucking fly up some fucking weather balloons right now and just let them go all over the town.
Right? Like
Honestly,
like,
I was thinking about memes about this and like a gender reveal party gone wrong. Crazy. This
exactly.
or
just
like
like a party or like a funeral or something, you know, one just got away and they're like, oh shit, what? It is what it is. And now the whole globe's like, this is an issue. The whole, like, everybody needs to panic. Like,
well, and then also I was thinking of another really dark meme. I probably am not going to post about it, but like saying this is the gender reveal balloon for the next bomb. We've had what was it, little boy
Oh
and
my-
big man or
oh my
whatever.
god!
man, little boy, holy shit.
And little boy. Yeah, so like let's see what the next gender of the next nuclear bomb is
Oh
going
my
to be.
god.
Well, it'd probably be
For dark humor.
it'd probably be a
Dark
mix
humor.
between blue and pink, and you know it'd be trans.
I don't know what the pronouns of the next nuclear bomb is going to be. I'm sorry.
It'll just be it.
They them.
It.
They them.
It'll be yeah, they them, yeah. It'll just be
they-
the bomb.
Inclusive enough, they
the
them.
bomb.
It'll
The
just be
bomb.
the bomb. It is a bomb. That's it. We're not going to go into the distinction of male or female or any of that. No, it's just a bomb.
Well, and then what was it? Gina Carano got in trouble because her pronouns that she put on Twitter, she said beep bop boop, and I think that fits here for
Yeah, word.
pronouns.
Is that what she said? Like that's what
Yeah,
she got
that's
in
what she
trouble
said
for, was
for
beep,
her-
bop, boop?
That was one of the things she got in trouble for, is saying her pronouns are beep bop boop.
But that's funny.
I mean, hey,
Like,
if somebody
like,
could
like,
be-
that's not like I wouldn't like I try and look at things from an individual's perspective that would be like like a trans person, right? Or that or somebody that is big on pronouns and stuff. And I'm like, I don't see how they could be even offended by that. Okay, beep bop boo. It's just like it's funny, like just like
I think
like
it's
a like
because it
a
was
repetitive
coupled with-
robot. Like yeah. Like I would have to. I didn't care enough.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, I can see how it could be seen as offensive, but when we have people self-identifying as wolves and like just inanimate objects, I'm sorry. If they want to just identify as random words, there is no tangible difference. It
Well,
is
but
the exact same thing.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
if they want to be beep bop boop, I mean, sure, it might be a little pushing it,
well,
yeah.
how can you
But
get
I mean,
offended on her choice of her pronouns?
well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, it's kind of pushing it, but like, she should be allowed to do that if this person thinks they're an Apache attack helicopter. Like, if that's okay, why is that not okay? Like, just wild.
Yeah. It's like, you do you type of thing, but like I thought I got a good giggle out of it.
Oh yeah, no, that's funny.
Along with
I hope they take it to the extreme so I can self-identify as an untaxable individual.
Oh,
Like I just hope they take it to that far of an extreme.
I am of this land.
Yeah.
Kick me off. Right? No, for sure.
Hold on,
Oh,
I
man.
gotta find my social contract. Um.
Okay, now there was one other one other topic that I always like to circle back to it. It's just I've always liked conflict and war and stuff like that. And it kind of involves people I know and I guess my own history there, the conflict in Europe right there. Um I have a question to pose. At what point are we officially at war with Russia ourselves? How much gear, how much support, how many mercenaries have gone to Ukraine? How much more are we pledging before we're just at war? Like we are at this point. I think we can all agree. Like
Like a
basically the
proxy
West.
war.
Yeah, no, 100%. This is a proxy
Yeah.
war. Like I think we can all agree that the West is at war with Russia. At what point do we just come out of the shadows and be like, "Fuck it, we're at war"? Like how much of our resources do we have to dedicate to this before we have to full commit? And like the only reason I'm bringing this up is I'm watching. I think even France was talking about it. Like France, Canada, we don't even have tanks to fucking do this with. We're giving them leopards. Germany's giving them leopards. Frank's giving them, or France is giving them tanks. You guys are giving them fucking Abrams and I think Bradleys. Like
I'm not
we're
giving them a fucking thing.
well, that's the beauty of it because whether I like it, you are because your
Yeah.
tax dollars
Oh, I
are
know.
going towards this.
I know.
That's the thing. This is a proxy war that we're not a part of, but we're still footing the cost for this in a completely separate country that's not at war, that has nothing to do with any of this. We are still footing the cost for this. This is why I'm saying, at what point are our governments just going to say fuck it? Because like this is getting unfair to the people at this point. Everybody involved. Yeah, okay, this is unfair for the people of Ukraine. This is unfair for the citizens of Russia that didn't want anything to do with this, and vice versa. And then this is now unfair to everybody else in the world that's being dragged into this proxy war that isn't a war that we aren't supporting. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Right. And not
go ahead.
only that, I was just going to say, like, not just the resources that we're putting in, but also the political pressures that we're putting on. There have been quite a few instances where Zelensky and Putin were going to call for a ceasefire or try to resolve this conflict. But people from different countries have been like, no, you have to keep going. At one point, Boris Johnson hopped on a plane and went over and visited Zelensky and told him not to accept it. So there's a lot of not just the money, but also the influence to keep it going is another thing that I have issues with. Now, people have put Ukraine up as like this democracy utopia. It's like, I believe at one point, Ukraine, like right before the invasion and everything, it was voted as like the second most corrupt country in Europe. If you look at some of the policies it has there, there's a lot of things I think people in the US, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh," like, especially things on like gay marriage and items like that. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't worth saving, but like, there's been a lot of things leading up to this that hasn't helped the situation, and it's not this or this model democracy that we need to not put that up on that pedestal. You know what I
and do you
mean?
want to hear one of the nuttiest parts about this? The same has been done, but the inverse with Russia. Did you know that Russia has free healthcare across the entire country? Did you know that Russia has free education, state funded, across the country? Did you know that Russia has a functioning welfare system across the country? Did you know any of these things? That they're very much similar to us. It's it's us. It's the same country. We're all the same people. but they're painted to look so vilified. Oh, it's this bass backwards country. The people are all corrupt. The country's corrupt. The people are terrible. No healthcare. The government doesn't care about anybody. Like, the government pays for healthcare, pays for funding, pays for road work. Like, yeah, sure, there is corruption as there is in every place. I'm not denying that. But I'm also saying that it's not all of this bad stuff that has been painted, much like it's not all the good stuff with Ukraine that's been painted, just like even with Canada. Canada's painted to be this amazing place across the world. There's a lot of dumb shit that happens here too. That, like, we're not this amazing, picturesque country, this model democracy that everybody thinks we are. I mean, for Christ's sake, I can't even really talk about it because it's become the States. Like,
Yeah, well,
Like,
and
it's-
like at the same, like, kind of to your point, you have, this just pure hypocrisy because not only are they ignoring that, but when they point out the something that is similarly done in their country, and I'm not just saying Canada, they're like, oh, Russia's so terrible for doing this, yet you do it in your own country. Like, you use it as like a point as to why Russia's evil, and don't get me wrong, I do not like the Russian state. I do not like Vladimir Putin. He's ex-KGB. I believe that he just really is just restoring the communist control of Mother Russia and calling it Federation. But I don't think that the motives are conquest of the West and stamping out democracy. Like, I mean, look, they want to talk about democracy. Well, look at what was it, Poroshenko, the one that was elected democratically and then ousted, and then the government that Zelensky runs now is the government that was implanted there after a revolution because they were upset and said that there was election fraud and all that. We've heard this story before, and it just went a little differently because the Republicans don't have the balls to do what they thought should have been done. Dude, I mean, I was telling them that live at the Capitol. I was,
Right.
why, if you guys are going to actually rebel, you probably should, because they're going to say you did anyway. And but yeah, it's just
Not only that, another thing too is like this is kind of what makes me a libertarian is that we're talking about governments here that are having issues and creating these problems. Meanwhile, us, the plebs are the
layman,
ones that
yeah.
like pay for it. We're paying for the equipment, and then we're also paying with our lives and everything else. I mean, in every aspect of our life, we're affected by this. But it is like people need to stop vilifying like a country and start
Mhm.
vilifying like the actual actors, which are government officials who are creating these issues and committing like war crimes and whatnot.
genocide and
Yeah. And so that is like what makes me a libertarian is like removing that power so that like governments aren't having this influence. I mean, you look at the statistics of how people are affected both in Russia and in Ukraine by this. Like, I don't think they wanted that. I can't think of
No,
people who wanted that, you
no.
know. So, I mean, we actually just recently had two Russian men that swam across and got to Alaska,
Mhm.
like in the frigid waters. You don't hear about that. I mean, you hear about stuff like that between Cuba and Florida, but we had Russians swimming across to escape to Alaska. I don't know if many people know about that. It's
I heard that story,
insane.
but
I've
I
heard of
also
it, yeah.
I also look up weird
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
No, and those are crazy ass waters over there. I mean, that's where
Mhm.
Deadliest Catch is.
Yeah,
You wanna swim
yeah.
across
Yeah,
that?
no, the
No.
Bering Strait is one of the deadliest bodies of water, like, on the planet. Even in a boat.
I think it is the deadliest body of water
I
in the
think
world.
near Antarctica, there's some deadlier waters, but
Either
it
way, like,
yeah, it's
still, like,
Yeah,
still
top
yeah.
3, like, this is, like, murderous stuff. Like, you go into these waters, and there's a good chance you're not coming out unless you know exactly what you're doing and you're catered for it. Yeah, no, I've heard about that, like, it's insane, like, and even with that being said, like, that just goes to show that, like, they probably have the same level of, like, fear and whatever blasting at them, like, "Oh, the West is terrible," and they're coming over here the same as, like, I don't know, it's just weird. It's interesting to see the images that everybody has built of these other countries and just, like, what the people are actually doing with them and how the images actually stack up to reality.
Well, and it's like
right, with short term.
yeah,
Okay.
go, and it's like the grass is always greener type mentality.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
also that like how the vast majority of generations that the generation that has come after me is everything is terrible, but for reasons that I don't think that it's necessarily terrible, like some of the social issues. But then it's like, man, like it could be a lot worse, and it's probably gonna get a lot worse because of the reason that I think it's bad, because things like that, because it's authoritarian. But at the same time, like if like if I could go to another country and that I thought was great, many of them I'd end up going to be like, damn, this is actually kind of fucking, this is not what I idealized it as. And I was like, things are a little different, and I can't be as socially open, and that's the one thing. And you're feeling the effects of it slowly degrading, Kyle. I can be, for the most part, I've had to deal with it locally, but not not in any other way, like censor wise, to just speak my mind. And I can't, that is the one thing I couldn't lose. Like that would be like my rebellion tipping point. And
don't get me wrong, like it's not something that I'm eager to watch happen to my country. In fact, for me, it's especially frustrating because I have spent my fucking adult life telling all of my friends to please go and vote. And you know what I get every time? My vote's not going to matter. I'm not voting. Well, 50 votes turns into 5,000 votes, turns into half the fucking country, and then Trudeau wins with a majority with only like 60% of the population voting. If you had just gotten up and voted, we wouldn't be in this issue. We wouldn't have to worry about this stuff, but my vote doesn't count.
Well,
I don't know.
And then you have like, I hate blaming people like that, like in that sense, because
I'm not saying flat out that they're the specific reason for it, but I am saying that had those votes been counted, they could have contributed one way or another to perhaps the same or a different outcome. But without those votes, we were robbed the chance.
Yeah, but it also comes down to like my personal belief is that, it's not my, like, I have no right over man. So it's not my right to impose my will upon them by electing. And so like, and you never know, like maybe they would have voted Trudeau.
Well, that's the thing, like even if they had, like, I would have been okay with it. I just wanted them to have a vote, because when they don't vote at all, that's when the numbers just get wonked out. Because it's a smaller pool, the smaller voices become louder. What would have been a minority is now a majority, because there's only X people to speak about other parties. It's just going to be the loudest, most dominant voice. Even if it was like the Liberal Party that won at the end of it with all of the votes, I wouldn't be that upset, because it at least got everybody's opinion, or most people's opinion. A lot of my friends that didn't vote are unhappy with the outcome of the election. And I ask them, are you going to vote again? And they say, no. And they're like, that to me, that's what baffles me. That you're unhappy with the vote, with the election, but you still refuse to even cast a vote. Okay, sure. Yes, you are one vote against like 36, 37 million, whatever the population is at right now. Sure. But that's still one vote. Whatever the percentage it may be, it is still that little percentage. If everybody else is perfectly split between the country and you're that one little chunk that needs to be there to change it, then you will be that one little chunk. And don't get me wrong, if I'm never going to sit there and like drag somebody to a voting office or be like, you need to do this, you have to vote. But I will try to convince somebody if ever given the chance. Because again, like even like a group debate, it only works if everybody contributes.
I only did that this last election cycle because I was running for office, but vote
Well,
for
like,
me.
yeah,
No, I'm kidding. But
that's fair.
You
Like,
hook the
that's
chains to them and you're like, come on, we're going to the voting poll.
I will drive you there.
I will change.
You said you
No,
like ice
I
cream.
didn't do any of that stuff, but no.
You said you like ice cream, eh, buddy? I'll swing by DQ on the way
Oh,
back.
you said
wanna
you
come
drove
through
them
the
there?
voter's
Isn't that ballot harvesting?
No, I didn't drive. I was joking with my siblings for sure. I'm like, I will drive you there. And they're like, I don't want to vote. And I'm like, your own sister's on the ballot.
Mhm. Well, and that's where you can turn around and you can say, like, look, even if you don't want to vote for me, just vote. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, even if it's not in the right place. Just make the vote hurt. That's my only thing. Like I don't want everybody to agree with my ideologies and my political parties and views, because that would make the world a very boring place. We need diversity. We need different outlooks and different opinions and different stances on everything. And as when nobody voices their different opinion, that's when it becomes the kind of just muddied out whatever state that we have now. It's because the voices have kind of just fallen by the wayside. I don't know. I'm circling here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
That's
Like
fair.
and I totally understand your thought process on it. You know, we differ on opinion on that, and that's fine. You know, like that's the great part.
What's the perks of being adults? Yeah,
Yeah, like it's perfectly fine, and we can sit here and have, you know, great discourse about it.
Yeah.
Somebody replied to something that Cohen said, and then you know, I had said something. I guess it was kind of like mumbled. It was like I didn't say it clearly in text, and then like some fucking random guy was just like going off on me, and then I fucking replied a clean, concise explanation as to what I was trying to say, and it was the first time that I have had a good response. It was like, "Oh, I am very sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying," and we had like a fucking couple hour long, tweeting back and forth, and I was like, "Oh, this is great," and he was like, and he was like, "I'm gonna go listen to your podcast now." I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!"
And like
There you go.
it's as simple as that, just like, hey, you know what, you were right, I was wrong, my bad. And like
Oh.
just that little phrase. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I meant. Oop.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
like the Midwestern,
Yeah.
like, oh.
Oh.
Exactly. Oh, my bad. Sorry, dude.
I actually spent a lot of time in the Midwest, so like I adopted the whole oh.
Dude,
we do the same thing.
It's hard
but
not to. Like when
it works.
I went to Michigan for 4 days for KyleCon last year, and like I literally like started speaking like she got so like my fiance got so like annoyed probably with I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, bud," and like all this. Just like half the Kyles that went there were like from the Midwest, northern Midwest, and it was bad. I got to work and I was talking like that. It was, oh man, it was rough. I feel
went
bad
to
for everybody.
college there, and then I like spent some time there, and I adopted so much of like Midwest culture and everything. I don't know what happened.
Being in the prairies, it's kind of my culture without being that intense about it. Like I will drop the odd, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of works. Like it's the same thing with like a. Like I don't even think about it. They're just good words to add to a sentence. Like a, I explained to a buddy from Missouri because he kept asking me. He's like, I hear you use it, and I think I know, but I want to know what's like the context. What's the format to drop a casual a? And I was like, the easiest way to put it is something that you both already know. You just want that confirmation, kind of like the rhetorical confirmation. It's fucking pretty cold outside, eh, bud? Oh, it's pretty cold.
I just
That's fair.
pictured a group of Canadians, right, sitting in a log cabin because this popped up, in my head from our discussion earlier about looking up a background image, right? Like in like puffy jackets, smoking pipe cigars, and they're like trying to discuss the proper use of the a in conversation.
Casually said that.
Dude, I'm sorry, my head
I
fucks sometimes.
do
like-
think that A would be better placed at the end of a question to which you know the answer.
A?
It
Eh?
pleases the crown.
No,
Please.
one that pleases the crown, eh? Yeah, like bang on. Yeah, basically, like kind of exactly not what I was picturing, but basically the environment that I was in when I was considering that. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yes.
Your subconscious is literally that cabin in the woods with a bunch of puffy
Basically,
guys
yeah,
in jackets anyway, so it's all right.
Well, no, see, that's the cool
Not
part.
puffy
'cause, like,
guys in jackets, guys in puffy jackets. Sorry.
Well, see, that's where it slightly differs. See, we're still chilling there. There's the room of gentlemen. We're still chilling in the cabin. But there's a big fire, so no poofy jackets. Instead, we've got those slick kind of smoking jackets on instead. You got the glass of brandy in one hand.
the
You
Hugh
got the
Hefner jacket.
Glass
Sherlock-
of maple syrup in
exactly.
the other.
Oh, you know what? Hold on, you laugh. There's maple whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
shit's serious. Pardon the
Yeah.
language, but
my husband got like some syrup, but it's got like whiskey in it or something like that. And they're like, it had this whole list of things that you can put it in, like coffee and a few other things. It never listed pancakes. And he's like,
You're
And, like-
selling yourself short there. Like,
Yeah.
Well, he got it. So my husband's a Wisconsin man, so he's like, I gotta try this, and so puts it in his coffee, and he's like, "Oh, this is really good." And Canadians are onto something. And
I know that's good.
right, and I'm a hobby mead maker, so I like making mead. And I've thought about taking maple syrup. Here in Alaska, we actually have birch syrup, which is
Ooh.
similar sort of idea in terms of like how you make it and stuff, and it's a little bit different taste, but like I want to make some mead with it, and I think it would be really
have you ever
good.
had birch beer?
No.
It's like root beer, but it's birch beer. It's like big in Pennsylvania. Oh my god! See if you can find some.
Right.
And it is a totally different taste than anything you would think of. It is fucking delicious. Oh, sorry. It is stupendously
Oh.
delicious, young chap.
Whoop, I'm sorry, eh? My
Whoop,
bad,
whoop.
bud.
Oh, another $1 and a swear there, bud. Nope, sorry. Oh,
You
Well,
guys should have an episode where it's a full-blown gentleman's Kyle podcast
Oh
with
my
top
God,
hats and like
Oh,
a pipe.
okay, hold
Like,
on. This is one time in which I will swear freely. Fuck around. I will do that.
yeah.
I will go and get a smoking jacket. I'll put on I'll like break out one of the nice shirts, like the actual suit shirts. And I'll
Mhm.
slick the hair back and everything, get a glass of whiskey with a couple
I'm
spherical ice
posting it in the
cubes,
council right now that this is that
We're
we
doing
are
a gen-
recruiting
You're welcome.
Kyles with
Oh my
decent
goodness.
mics and cameras for a gentleman's.
Hold on. No, I like this though. I like that a lot, actually. Now hear me out. Hear me out. We could build off of that. Do like a gentleman's night with drinks and some finer attire, right? But do like a different format. Like discuss stuff, but as we're slowly, like, I know there's a drunken stories podcast, but not quite like that. Just kind of like we'll drink as we go and then kind of like slowly deteriorate, but we'll try and dig into like decent, like I don't know, like decent topics, like not quite like news stuff. Like we'll have to think of like philosophical stuff or something like that. Like just something that's going to be really interesting to grip into and then watch deteriorate as we dip into the brandy.
So you're talking about the majority of long session podcasts that are out there right now, except it's just Kyle's and smoking jackets.
And just like once here and there, basically, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then one sober one just sitting there fucking just
Just
geeking.
dying the whole time. Just like
I
what
can be the Chanel West Coast of the
Oh my
podcast, dying.
God.
I'll hold down the northern central spot here. I'll break out some Canadian, some local made stuff. Actually, okay, have you tried Crown Royal?
I mean,
That's
I've
made
tasted it.
actually. You've tasted? Okay, that's made within like a few hours of where I am.
I
Well,
thought-
no, it's
what?
more like 6
I
hours. give or take.
thought that was like made in like one of the islands in the Bahamas. What?
No, Crown Royal is
You
Canadian.
might be
buddy.
thinking of
That's,
something else.
the-
What
no,
am I?
Crown-
Oh no, that's
thinking like
Bacardi.
Malibu or something.
no, Bacardi's made in
Oh,
Puerto Rico,
Bacardi,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. You know what? Now I'm curious. I don't actually know.
I'm like looking it up right now.
Yeah, I'm.
And I just want to state that this is not an advertisement for any of the companies that have been mentioned.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, nowhere are we plugging these people. It's a source of local pride because a lot of people enjoy that stuff. Like my buddy from Missouri that I was mentioning earlier, his poison of choice is Crown Royal. And when I explained that it was local, he's like, "Oh, that's insane."
Gimli, Manitoba, Lake
That's the
Winnipeg.
place. Yep. It's north of me by quite a few hours there, but it is still close enough there. And then okay, Bacardi. Where was Bacardi from? Or was that old? That's not also from Gimli, right? I was like, hold on, that would be impressive.
They have facilities in Mexico and Puerto Rico.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, because that's what I thought because Hunter Thompson Rum Diaries, the one character steals filters from the Bacardi factory, and like just like huffing them and shit. I don't know, but that's
The rum trade is really interesting though too, from like a legal standpoint because of all the treaties and stuff. So like you can't have molasses and other like drinks. Like I want to make a mead with molasses in it, but like I can do it as a hobby, but if I were to sell it because of like rum trade treaties, I can't do
Mhm.
that.
Oh, hold
Yeah.
on. So let me get this straight. So molasses is the defining factor in it
Yes.
becoming a rum product and you no longer being able to sell it?
Yes.
Yeah, because of the rum treaty. So, like, when it comes to law, treaties are above all other laws. So, like, here in the US, it would be above the Constitution, actually. There's actually a treaty between the US and Canada that's no longer, like, observed, even though, like, it should be. First Nation people don't need to,
Yeah,
like,
no,
present
free
papers or
passage.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no one recognizes it.
No. No, and if you go to the border and you try to flex that on them, they'll probably
Mm.
call you an idiot and you'll have to sit there for a couple hours and argue with it, and eventually you'll get some kind of management who's like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's a thing, dude, like, let them
Well,
do
yeah,
it."
treaties
But you'll
are
still
Yeah.
have
treaties
to
are above all other law unless the ones that have to respect it become more powerful than the ones that accept it. You see what I'm saying? Like, like the U.S. can trample on treaties that they made with First Nation tribes because they just have the power to do so and don't have to worry about retaliation. But if they go against a treaty with Canada or the UK or a major power in the world, they have to worry about major ramifications for it.
Retaliation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's unfortunate. It really is because it's the same kind of an idea up here. There's well, actually, here's a tricky one because there's a lot of treaties that were signed that are still reasonably being honored, but things have like a lot of dynamics have changed over the years, which is a big thing that like it's not an issue per se with treaties, but it's like a caveat with them because they were written when they were written, right? And they're
Right.
designed not to be rewritten or reworked on. They're supposed to be just kind of like the founding law, but a lot of these are no longer like they don't make sense in a modern context anymore. And that's where a lot of the modern issues, like specifically with the whole First Nations in Canada, is like trying to kind of I guess readjust it so that it is applicable in the modern world because when they were first written it like everybody was happy, it was a global like well not global but a national communication, like everybody was on the same page, it worked. As times have changed they weren't changed because well they're treaties, like they're not supposed to change, and that's where yeah huge issue of the issues are coming up, or a
Could you-
huge source of the issues are coming up
could
right
you
now.
imagine like some country being like, "Well, I have this slave trade treaty from 1547.
I'm not abolishing it. It's a treaty. It's been in my country's government since we established it.
presenting it to like the Coast Guard in the U.S. Bringing people in from Africa. It's just like I have
Well,
this
you know-
treaty.
You know what? You laugh though. I'm pretty sure there is actually stuff like that though. I don't know about specific treaties, but
well,
there
there's
are
actual
definitely-
slave trade still.
That's
but
what I
don't-
mean. Yeah, I know. Like there
Oh.
are huge parts of the world where like you could go that and the king could just show up with like 15 people in his posse, only 2 of which are paid. Like, and it's just like it's a thing that just happens, which is so fucked because we live in the future.
Well,
Like,
have you seen modern slavery statistics?
Yeah.
I mean, like actual, like not oh they pay us $7.25 an hour slavery. Like I mean, unpaid labor, forced labor, dude. It is disgusting.
That's why I don't use Nestle products.
Yeah,
Nestle's one of them. Hershey's, Mars.
Yeah, Hershey's hard for me to stay away from, but I try. I really, I mean, I stopped eating a lot of chocolate. I like Fitzky's is one that I absolutely love because they're from where I was born in Pennsylvania, and their chocolate's so good, and they are ethically sourced as far as I've ever known. So I mean, because and that's the thing that sucks is that it's so hard to make sure that everything is ethically sourced, because not just because some of it's from like so it'll be like some farming village way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's hard to get an inspector to make sure that they're always doing it ethically, but also because you have corrupt governments involved who are like, yes, this is ethically done. These guys all work for the government. And it's like, they don't work for the government. When the inspectors leave, they're slaves. And it's, yeah, dude, it's sad. It's sad that this is still happening, and it's fucking 2023, and we've been somewhat civilized for thousand years. I'd say fairly civilized for the past 1,000 years, as far as like basic principle of like property and man and woman, like things have things have gotten better, but the fact that slavery was still a prominent thing until the late 1800s baffles me. Even with a long-standing movement during that time, like could you imagine like civil rights going on for 100 years, like the civil rights movement? Like, could you imagine that taking place over the course of 100 years? Like, that's nutty.
Well, and like it did drag on. Like, that's one of the neat parts, but not at the same time. Like, we're even now, we're still in the midst of some civil rights debates. Like, we may not see it the same way, but like we're always going to be in pursuit of like the ultimate liberties for everybody there, because like no person is 100% free in a modern world. Like, it's not something that works, unfortunately. It's partially the way the government's set up, it's partially the way that we have to work, it's kind of just the way that everything is built. But that's also in the same thing. Like, that's why we're also always going to be continuously chasing that. Like the main civil rights movement, yeah, there was a period in time where it was like the primary focus, but like throughout the history of man, there's always been kind of the struggle and the balance, and just kind of the seek for that kind of perfect nature. It's just kind of always going to be that pursuit, I think.
Yeah,
But
there's
it's
like a lot of things with like First Nation stuff that I've been talking about, like with residential schools, they didn't stop until the 80s. you know and then there's a bunch of other things too. There was the Indian Adoption Act, and that brought in ICWA. So, I believe there's something very similar in Canada, but I can't remember the name of it. But it was the Indian
there's
Child Welfare Act.
yeah, there's a
uh,
lot of stuff like that.
yeah, and it's still going on today. In fact, I was talking with Spike, and we made this post about how, like, children are being taken out of Alaska and sent to psych wards in Texas and Missouri, and I think Colorado is another state as well. And disproportionately, it is Native American children, and these are children that are being diagnosed with being irritable, you know, or like troublesome,
Wonder
like
why.
very vague things. And it's like they're being a child, and
Well,
maybe they need
yeah.
a little bit better guidance and at-home therapy to help them with something, but they don't need to be sent to a psych ward thousands of miles away. And then they're stuck there for years, and then they come back, and then they rebound because they were institutionalized, pretty much, and that's what they were said. So there's definitely things today. It kind of sucks, like when I bring up these things and I talk about them, like, no, there's definitely things to be talking about, and it's just people immediately think I'm talking about reparations or other like toxic things that are seen with the civil rights movement. It's like, no, like there's actual things, guys. Come
Yeah,
on, like.
yeah. Just want to fix the current actual problem that is currently affecting people that are living right now, and
Like, children are still being
yes,
taken,
yes.
guys.
It's like,
So, stuff like that. So there certainly is different aspects that are being talked about. It really sucks that there's bad actors, like the stuff that we saw recently with BLM. There are BLM leaders that were taking millions of dollars for themselves and really just putting a bad taste in everyone's mouth about the civil rights movement and taking advantage of it and just ruining it. It's like, no, there's things we need to fix, people. Like,
yeah, and I
oh,
can speak on that personally, because I met during Trump's inauguration. I went to film as a reporter, and I actually met up with Black Lives Matter DC. They weren't directly like associated with Black Lives Matter. So like they were one of the ones that formed their own chapter and started their own grassroots stuff. They were fucking awesome. Like they spoke the message that, I agree with, and, things that needed to be heard, and weren't asking for money all the time in their Facebook group. And they also, like, they came down to Virginia during the John Gear and Natasha McKenna protests, and like came with us, and like those were all great people, said great things, helped get great things done. And the contrast between like the figureheads of Black Lives Matter International and them is drastic.
Yeah, because the main international movement, like they're organized, right? They have their whole organized whatever leadership, and a lot of it was tainted, like you said, corrupted. These smaller little pop-up chapters, they're believing in what the actual movement was and the actual message, not whatever the hell whoever says from wherever. It's what they actually believe. They're going to push for actual civil rights and stuff like that, and they'll probably even be respectful for a lot of it because they don't have this massive movement behind them to just keep funding them with money and more people to support them.
But
They have to actually preach a good message to get people on board.
do you guys remember it was right, it was a week after the major protests started. Okay, a couple years ago. Why am I drawing a blank on the name? Minneapolis.
Oh,
Oh my god.
I can picture his face.
Yeah,
Is that the one where they were kneeling on him? And he
yes,
said, "I
yes, yes,
can't
yes,
breathe"?
yes, yeah. I can't,
Oh,
I
shit.
like I reported on this frequently. Like I don't understand why I
Oh.
can't remember his name right now.
Oh my god.
Now,
this-
okay,
I
now
feel
hold
really
on, hold
bad
on.
right now
Stop.
because
No, don't. I want to take up. No, I want to comment on this. Okay. Do you know why we can't think of his name?
There have been so many
because it was
afterwards.
said so much that
It was said so much. There was so much controversy over that. There was so much that was muddied. There was so much that was left to the last minute to actually disclose to the public. And there have been so many other instances of not just people being killed, but of like police violence or people just acting out and being reprimanded.
it's a
He wasn't
trauma.
per se reprimanded, let alone even in the right way. But yeah, even trauma. Like there's been so much that has been happening that it's almost impossible to remember this now. Like we can all see his face.
Yeah,
George Floyd?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
George Floyd.
There we go.
George Floyd.
Like the fact that it took that much effort to go back and think of, right? It's the movement is it's almost like it's lost the soul behind it because that could have been a potential almost like martyr, right?
Well,
like
well
they
that's
really
what I was.
did.
Okay, that's what I was getting at because the first like 2 weeks, the whole
Yeah,
of
straight
the
martyrdom.
world, that other nations came together and were like, "This is wrong. Like shit needs to change." Started looking at their own countries as well regarding this stuff, and then all of a sudden, you have like organizations like BLM International that come in and just fucking fuck that, reparations, oh sorry, F that. Okay, I'm gonna go through and bleep it. But
I
like
was gonna say, we'll just go back and bleep it.
and starts going on this like message of anger when you had police departments, you had the Minneapolis Police Department coming out there and like, working with people, standing with them and stuff. The chief, the chief was out there, all this stuff that was like nice to see, and it was like, damn, shit's about to change, and then fucking it just all went to hell, and and it's like both, actors from the state and actors probably influenced by state actors, on the activist side, pushed it to a totally different thing, and that's when the riots happen. And like, dude, it's just it's so frustrating to see because it was such a beautiful thing that was coming out of such a horrible thing, and then it just got destroyed. And it's because that division has to remain, or else everything collapses for them.
Well, yeah, it's divide and conquer. Like it's
Yeah.
been said in previous podcasts. Spike even said it last time himself. There, like it's one of the oldest rules in the book, one of the oldest tactics. Sorry, in the book.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because we see stuff like this that could have been used for the better by a few different parties there, but it just went the wrong way. And I think another thing with that too is I think we're at the point where we can talk about the toxicology reports
Oh, yeah. Of George Floyd?
of George Floyd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we address the fact that he was under the influence of a couple substances at the
No,
moment?
no,
and there
okay.
was a lot of stuff
I-
found in his system.
Did you ever watch my free source reporting breakdown of that? on YouTube?
Possibly.
All right. So the levels that were in his system are consistent with a user of
Mm-hmm.
of the drug.
Like a
Okay.
regular user.
Yeah. Okay. But not an but the levels that were in there were not of an active amount of heroin that would cause an overdose in anyone. And if he was a regular user, the amount that was in his system was consistent with having done heroin maybe 8 hours prior.
Which would still be a detriment to his system. His body's still going to be compromised, having done that much hard drugs for a long time. His heart's going to be overworked. His blood system, his nervous system, everything is going to be overworked from being inebriated.
Yeah,
on those substances.
but you could be you could be an overworked, overweight individual, but somebody kneeling on your neck and cutting off the blood flow and oxygen to your brain will still kill you.
But it was kneeling on his shoulder, not his neck.
No,
You can see it in the picture. He's on his shoulder blades.
so
Yeah, I don't know like the specifics of that necessarily, but yeah, when it comes to like people start talking about like the health of individuals that are hit by police brutality, there's actually plenty of examples still too where people are perfectly healthy. They're
Mhm.
young, they don't
Mhm.
use, and police brutality still happens,
Oh yeah,
And so
don't get me wrong.
yeah, and kind of as a libertarian, it's more of like you're able to do what you want with your body or with consenting adults uh in that regard. So it like up here in Alaska when people were like, well, he was a heroin user. It's like, well, he still shouldn't be pinned to
No,
the
and
ground.
I'm not
But like
saying
I
that
understand what you mean though.
yeah, and I'm not saying that because he was a drug user that he needed to be arrested or pinned or, held on the ground there. But I've seen that tactic. Like I've worked security before. My buddies worked security. I've got friends who've worked in law enforcement. I've, the whole nine. So like that's not an uncommon thing how that officer was holding him down. That's not uncommon in the slightest.
in the U.S., it is not trained in the majority of police departments, and is trained. The majority
Don't
are trained not to do that specifically, even before this happened, and now it's against the law in most states because
That
the
is
cause
the
of death was
only
cardiopulmonary arrest complicated from law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
complicated by, not caused or induced, complicated by.
Okay, not complicated. Arrest complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Complicating, exactly. So not the actual cause, not the induced cause of death or the complication that led to it, leading to believe that there was an existing set of circumstances that had then been complicated by said law officer. This is why, and this is another reason why I'm having a feeling that it kind of majorly dropped out of the spotlight, because stuff like this started to come up. People started to question it. What was the motive? What actually happened? Again, the method of restraint used, sure, could have been better, but in the moment, he had no other way of restraining that individual, unfortunately. The other officers were not providing any sort of assistance. He had to have him, he was proving aggressive. Like, in that instance, the only other alternative would be to wrangle him into a car. With him being the only officer that was actually handling him, nobody helping him, he's not able to get into the back of the vehicle.
See, that's where you're getting things confused, because he was already in the car. He was
Yes, so
he was already
Yeah.
in the car, and
yes.
it like
Was he not making
Chauvin had
absolute-
nothing to do but shut the door. That's all he had to do. Shut the door, leave him alone.
Mhm,
Like, ignore what he's saying. But Chauvin knew him personally.
mhm.
I didn't know that part.
Floyd and Chauvin
He was a known
was
criminal.
a bouncer at a club that Floyd was also a bouncer at a club, and they had personal issues between each other at some point in time, and that indicated to some that he purposefully did what he did, that he went out of his way to antagonize him, but it's neither here nor there.
What, that Floyd was purposely antagonizing Chauvin?
No,
or-
that Chauvin was purposely antagonizing Floyd. Like, the whole basis of the interaction, the still I still believe they don't even have the supposed $20 bill that was the supposed reason for the call for Chauvin to even go out there, because the whole reason for the call was a supposed $20 bill passed at, a counterfeit $20 bill passed at a store. And I haven't touched on this in over 2 years.
I will say when it comes to these sort of issues, because like this is something that I like, these sort of stories like this I bring to light a lot of times, and same with Spike. I mean, we're talking about humans, so like
Mhm.
there's mistakes made and stuff. The biggest thing why we really highlight how the state or government officials, what have you, were wronged is because there's no consequences when they are wrong. So we are the people that have to put them on blast. Now, people are human, they make mistakes, or they may have been under the influence when stuff happened, but they had severe consequences, sometimes to the point where, like, in this case death occurred, which is way too far. However, there's no consequences on the state side. You have things like qualified immunity, and other types of immunities that are put into place, or just people aren't charged that need to be charged with the crimes that they've been made. So that's kind of when we talk about these sort of stories, that's why I really highlight how the state acted, because there's no consequences.
Yeah,
How else do we improve things?
and this was one of the rare instances, and that there were consequences for the actions. As far as the state's concerned, the taxpayers are, liable for their actions, as far as lawsuits and things go.
Right.
And because even in civil suit, if they took Chauvin and the others in civil court independently, qualified immunity would be able to be used in civil court for them. And it's just, I don't know, man.
Like and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the death was by any means just or warranted. Like it was still an unjust death, and he shouldn't have died as he did there. But I, I can I see both sides of it. That's my frustrating part, because there are two sides. So there are three sides to every story. Unfortunately, there's both sides and then the truth. I can see both sides on it. I can understand roughly why the officer was treating him the way that he did without any I'm trying to go like unbiased without any backstory there. I can also understand why everybody is upset that George Floyd had the complications that he did because of it. It was a messy situation just kind of across the board, but like it brings to light an interesting point. The whole qualified immunity thing, like that is, it's a touchy one, but it's unfortunately it's something that's kind of necessary in that field. There are some times where you are going to have to make a rash decision, where it's, you or the 50 people behind you versus the dude in front of you, or whatever it might be in that instance. Sure, sometimes, like you said, humans may make mistakes, and yeah, it might be the ultimate wrong decision, but there are plenty of instances where I will guarantee you that that decision is what saved people, and the immunity is what saved them and was able to let them do it again if they ever needed to in the future. And that's where the tricky part comes in. And this is where I guess I'm kind of lucky, because I'm able to see it, and that kind of objective, kind of almost like just objective based mindset. Like with the fact that I was a cadet for 7 years there, I can look at it from almost like a strategic point of view. The one for a million kind of a thing. I can get it. There will be times where it'll get messy, but to have the option of that 1v500, that to have the option of the one be the one to save it, that is critical, because you need people able to make those decisions, to react quickly and accordingly. Now, again, yeah, that does bring up interesting possibilities where people might overreact, or we have something like what happened with George Floyd there. But again, there are other instances where those are going to prove invaluable, where you need that kind of a power and immunity for somebody in that position, specifically law enforcement. Like I have no qualms whatsoever with law enforcement. I have nothing but the utmost respect, and I've dealt with them on both sides of it. No problem with them whatsoever. They're just, like we keep saying, they're just humans doing their job, same as us, right? And that whole immunity thing, like let's say like one of us was put into a situation where we had to react, and for us in that situation, our action made sense. It was the only viable situation. We come out of it
clarity comes back around, we're able to see a little bit more fully. There was another outcome that could have gone better, but we made the decision that we did because in that instance, that seemed like the smartest, best decision.
Yeah, but
Now,
can I interrupt you real quick on that? But,
probably going where I was going next, but sure.
But here's the thing, the problem with qualified immunity. It should be a kind of direction of defense, and that's as high as it should go, because qualified individual making a qualified judgment call. Now let's see if the facts all hold up to it, instead of like a blatant immunity to a situation. Like I agree with you in the current system settings, that is like what I just said would be the okay scenario.
And that's how it's supposed to be. And like that's 100% where, like I said, like that's where it was gonna go. You just kind of beat me to it. Because it has to be founded, right? Like you can't just have somebody like, oh well, I did it and it seemed right. Like if it was a dumb decision, regardless, it's a dumb decision. Like if there is in some way, okay, yeah, all the facts led up to it, that was the only outcome and it resulted in a positive outcome, then okay, sure, take a look at the diplomatic immunity or the immunity from persecution in that instance. But if it is investigated and it's found to be a little bit more fucked up, then yeah, they should definitely be tried. Like I'm not saying that because they practice law that they're above it, but there should be some leeway. But no, I'm agreeing with you on this. Like there should be some level of like they look back on it and they do investigate a little further. I don't think that happened per se with Chauvin as well as it should have, but that's kind of just like I don't want to be that guy, but that seems to be the nature of your system as it's set up.
Well,
there.
like for example, let me. John Gear in Fairfax, right? This is one of the few times that I've seen qualified immunity not granted. And there was a standoff situation due to a domestic dispute call. Okay. John answered his door, said there was no dispute. His partner said there's no dispute. We're fine. We were just arguing. And they were like, well, you have to come out here. Somebody has to go to jail. And he was like, what? He's like, I'm not coming out. Like, this is... So he just kept refusing to come out, which I would too. And so it ends up being this whole standoff, bring the SWAT team. You have an officer sitting there with his gun on him the whole time from his vehicle, like behind his vehicle. And at some point they were just negotiating with him. There's nothing violent going on. The officer fired his gun, shot John. John fell back, door shut. They didn't even try to go in to render aid or anything for almost an hour. Okay. So qualified immunity, all they have to say is that they believed that, like, due to their training, they believed that it was the right thing. That's it. Like in order to claim that, and it has to be blaringly obvious, as in that situation.
Like, he has to like walk out with a rifle and like plate armor and like ready to, sorry to be crass, but ready to fuck. You know, like not just walking out there having a casual
another $1 in a swear jar.
Yeah, another $1 in a swear jar. Exactly. We'll find a noise that we can just plug over the swears at some point. We'll figure it out. But either way, like, yeah, like in that instance, like I'm hoping he wasn't granted immunity.
That was one of like literally, even as a former cop block reporter, that is one of the few cases that I have seen a judge say no. Like that this is in no way. But what's messed up is that, and this is the biggest problem, is that the union, the police union backed him like a motherfucker, dude. Like they went balls to the wall. No, like, but that's the thing with the union needs to understand is that the union is not going to survive the future if you keep doing things like that. Like if you're not like, nah, dude, like that's you were wrong, you committed murder, like, you know. And the officer's reasoning, Adam Torres, was that he had a fight with his wife that morning. That was his reasoning. He had a fight with his wife that morning. He shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, hold-
If he was that emotionally disturbed, and see,
Yeah,
and that's the problem, is that they don't, like, many officers don't think like, hey, I'm in a fucked up mental state today. Maybe I should tell my sergeant that I can't go into work to possibly be in a situation where I have to make a split-second judgment call as to whether or not I'm going to take someone's life, because I'm
Yeah.
probably just going to make the call to take it.
Yeah, at that point, like, call in, be like, "Hey, I had a rough ass morning. Is there some paperwork I can do? You need some emails drafted? I'll make some coffee. I'll tell you what, I'll even clean the bathrooms." Like, how's that sound? But like,
and
yeah,
and another major problem is that there's no, if you're gonna have this type of system that they currently have, things need to be reported across the board. And the problem is that there's no, like, system for, hey, this guy was fired for killing someone because he got out and got a job at another police department initially,
That's how it
until we
happened.
found out. And that ended quickly.
no,
It-
like, I think up here, I think we have a little bit more solidified registry when it comes to that kind of a thing. Like, I think their records are very easily
how a
accessible.
socialist country would. No.
Well, exactly, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it's all very easily accessible. It's all right there. So, like, you don't have to
We
question.
have all the records. No.
And like the neat part, like, and this is kind of going back, and like, I know the US has a similar practice, but it doesn't seem properly implemented. Up here, in order to be a police officer, you need to have like a legal degree of some sort, be it even just a certificate from the police academy saying you went to their 1 or 2 year
we
mandatory
talked
training.
we talked about this that a couple episodes ago. Yeah, like, I mean, you have to go to the academy and stuff here.
Yeah.
But there's no, like, which is weird because there's no federal database for this, but there is for, like, register firearms. I don't, but you would
Yeah.
you would think that something like this, but it doesn't benefit the government. It makes things more complicated for
Well,
them,
And
in their
that's-
opinion.
That's the nuttiest part. As I'm sitting here waving this, trying not to spark it. That's the nuttiest part about it, is that there is like there's a lot of people that would like to be law enforcement, that given the chance they would immediately jump into being law enforcement. And I feel like a lot of these places, and don't take this the wrong way, it's just whatever individual places are. I feel like a lot of these places are kind of starting to overlook that kind of thing, overlook the training, be like, well, you have the drive, we can train you, whatever kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons I'm kind of okay with like the super state that I've kind of grown to live into here. Is that we do have that kind of mandated stuff, and like there's exams, there's all kinds of documentation that needs to be there proven. Even the precincts themselves, they'll test you, they'll make sure, like they'll retrain you on top of it to go over and above. And like that kind of training, sure, it might cost more at the beginning, but it's going to cut down on actual costs later. It's going to cut down on court costs from cops that don't know what they're doing, or that don't know how to properly react, or civil cases from people that are suing for all this stuff. Like,
I will say when it comes to like the costs and stuff like that. So like there is funding for it. However, like with a lot of different aspects in the US, so much of the money goes to like administrative stuff, or, the things that were lobbied and whatnot. There's so much corruption in terms of where our money goes. So you see, like, for example, our teachers, we talk about how much they're paid, and compared to the administrative costs. Like it depends on what state you're in, but about 50% of the money that's supposed to go to education doesn't even reach the classroom. It goes to other things before it even gets there. So already so much of it is shaved off before we even get to the classroom. You see that in all aspects of government, how much the top is just this leech sucking up all this money. Like there are people just making, they're made because they're well connected up on top. So and there isn't this sort of checks and balance to make sure that doesn't happen. So I could understand, like, oh, I would love officers to be trained much better and have better equipment in terms of training. However, you see so much up at top being taken, and also I mean there's other costs as well, and just the way things are implemented is why I have like this libertarian mindset. Like I would love for there to be like when you were talking about the more philosophical side of qualified immunity, what it could be used for in an ideal situation. However, the way that it's implemented now and abused, that's why folks like myself are against it because, I mean, it's gotten to the point where the US government is I don't know if you ever hear about in cards, like the dealer always wins. The US government is the
The house
dealer.
Yep.
always
They've made
wins.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how the cards are stacked. Like the house is always going to win. So uh, that is why like I'm a libertarian or I have this libertarian mindset against qualified immunity. And there's a few other things too, that, like you talked about, like with the training and whatnot. The money's all going to administrative stuff. It's going to the
Mhm.
bad stuff that doesn't need like they don't need to make millions up there, you know. So
No, exactly. And again, like with me being like a third party, like again, I'm kind of like the cozy old couple above a meth lab there. I have, a view, I can every now and then I'll see a reflection up, I'll see what you're watching on TV here and there and I'll hear the odd word through the floor, but yeah, a good chunk of it like it's not super common knowledge, like we do understand that there is unfortunately a fair amount of corruption that kind of runs through various levels of
Well, I mean, that's
shall we
any.
say everything.
It is. Oh, I mean, and the thing is, that's any situation where people have power over others. I mean, it's an unfettered power over others, which is increasingly becoming unfettered power in the U.S. And from even local offices, as I've found out recently. So
I joke about it often here, saying that we're becoming the state. I
yeah,
want to be that guy, but I mean, you guys are not too far behind us here.
yeah, oh yeah, no, I know.
And I don't mean like the
fully aware.
states, like most people think. I'm thinking like the state. Like some mid 1980s stuff that was supposed to be written as a warning, not a manuscript.
Yeah, 19.
Some George Orwell sort of stuff.
I have that sitting around some here.
Orwellian nightmares.
No,
That
well,
poor fellow.
The Mandela effect is just going to take it away from me. It never existed.
Which I heard they're actually they're rewriting 1984 actually.
I bet
Did you
they
hear
are.
about
Yeah,
that?
and then they're gonna try and burn all the old copies and ban them from public access. And they're gonna paint it so the government's actually the good guy in the
Hold
story.
on,
I'll
I'm
bet
gonna
you people
I'm gonna
got screwed.
download it onto my flash drive and put my
Yeah, grab
my
a couple-
put my my hard
Right.
copy in a fire safe lockbox, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
bury it at a specific coordinate.
grab a couple PDFs, throw them on a thumb drive.
But yeah, they're rewriting 1984, which is just anyone
It's
who's
ironic.
read Orwell is just like it.
It's
He
ironic.
talks about this. He warns about
It's
this.
literally what the book is about. Like,
This and like Fahrenheit 451 is another one that I
Mhm.
think of about it. But yeah, they're rewriting
Animal Farm.
1984.
Yeah.
And how they're posing it is that they're writing it from their perspective of I can't remember the main female character's name. I read it in high school, so it's been a little bit.
It's
Even
been
though
a
it may
long-
not look like it.
Been a
No,
long
just kidding.
Jesus.
No, it's been a while. I turned 30 this year, so
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
just
you-
turned
come
30 and
on.
I look 40. So
yeah, I was gonna
it's-
say we're all around the same point here. Don't.
okay. So it's been a while, but the main female character, so they're gonna write it from her perspective and rewrite the story. And like maybe I'm judging it before it even comes out, judging a book by its cover. But like Orwell literally said, "Don't rewrite my shit."
Yeah, no,
Just
don't.
Tough.
Like,
Tough. Where's the dollar? for
yeah.
storage?
You know,
Oh, nice.
we
Sorry.
we need to count it all up and we'll just like donate it to some charity. Like,
you know what? Hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea because like we do swear a fair bit, and like I'm gonna swear no matter what. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe we just decide on the charity, and then every time we drop swears, we have to chip in that couple bucks to the charity.
And if anybody listening wants to match that, we will.
Yeah, there you go.
More than welcome that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? Actually, I like that concept.
Oh, I like it because it'll probably make me stop swearing because I don't have the money. Because
Well, no, see,
I will
Help me, I'm
I will be
poor.
broke very quick, sir. So
I'm the poor minority here. I'm the charity.
look at me, I'm the chatty.
Look at me, I need the money now.
Yeah. But no, and then I worked in mines and my brothers are sailors and yeah, all that other stuff. So but no, it just he warned against it. So it
Yeah.
I don't know if you
And-
guys knew about that. That's a little more recent news.
I had heard of it. I honestly was kind of hoping it was just like some Babylon whatever story, like the bee kind of nonsense, just some, some
It's hard to
satire.
tell these
But
days.
How
Yeah.
bad
Well,
is
yeah.
it? How bad is it that they had to make a not the bee? Like,
Right.
Like, you have the Babylon Bee, which is supposed to
Right.
be, just absolute absurd, satire, and then they had, somebody made not the bee because the absurd satire is becoming the reality, and people are like, "This is satire." It's like, this is not the Babylon Bee. It is not.
Like, this
They
is
had
a
an episode
genuine
about
thing.
this actually. They went back to different like Babylon Bee articles that they had written as a joke that had actually come true. They had enough instances they created a whole episode on it.
Dude,
That's insane.
what if our reality has been created by the mental inception of the creators of Babylon Bee? Like they're
And The
just
Simpsons.
and Matt Groening, dude. Oh my god, Matt Groening.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, all jokes aside, that guy, one of those boys, I don't know who, somebody on that fucking
Matt
team.
Groening. He is it. Yeah, he
100%. Like, I'll fight somebody for that. There's no way.
Dude, he literally created a show about a guy who gets frozen and wakes up in what, 2999 in the year 3000, and so it's like, he's time traveling, you know what I mean? Like, he created that show, and then he has all these crazy, dude, what if he's Fry? What if he's Philip J. Fry and he was frozen in time and then found out a way to come back, and then he made a show warning everybody?
His poor dog.
Oh man. Damn.
I had to. All right.
Every time I watch that episode,
so
dude.
sad. So sad. You know the episode we're talking about, right?
I've watched a few episodes. I know what show you're talking about. I have not
Okay,
watched
okay.
that episode, but
No, we don't explain it or anything. Just at some point when you have a moment, watch the Futurama the dog episode.
Yeah.
lately
should-
I've been
should
watching
pull up
Bluey.
the
So
Oh my god. You know how many Australian Kyles there are?
there's actually a lot of Australian libertarians too. I am amazed at how many Australian followers I have. I mean,
They're
I know
probably
I was gonna
all
have
named
Canadian
Kyle.
followers
Like,
too.
literally all of your Australian followers are probably named Kyle because they're like the only fucking Oh, damn. They're the only Australians that are libertarian.
Right. And then you were talking about like how you're gonna like Canada is gonna be censoring like shows from outside of Canada. Are you guys gonna lose Bluey? Like
I
you could
have. I
round up
genuinely.
moms against that.
I'm actually, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, as much as I'm making a lighthearted joke about this, I'm actually kind of scared. I have no idea what the fuck's gonna change, and I don't even care about the swear jar.
Sorry.
Point. Yeah. No, I legitimately have no idea what's coming. I have no idea how it's gonna change. I have no idea what's gonna change. All I know is that the biggest thing is they're forcing like Facebook, Google, like major companies to shift what they're showing us to prioritize Canadian content.
Yeah, I can't.
Like, this
Oh
is-
man.
Dude,
This
you
isn't
know,
even
I
just like
can't-
local news or something. This
I
is like
can't-
tech giants.
I can't monetize resource reporting because I won't adhere to Europe's regulations.
Mm.
And I got a notice that something about Canada, like it was like 6 months ago, that I had to adhere to some sort of content thing. I haven't looked into it, but like I literally can't monetize my independent news website because
Well, and then Spike like gets stuff from Germany. Like if he's reported because of German law, like they have to send him something. And he's like, "Oh, I offended someone in Germany."
Yeah, yeah. No, like there's
they
there's
couldn't
so
listen to this
much-
podcast.
There's so much international nonsense that's just going on these days here, and like everybody, I miss the days of the whole sticks and stones saying when people believed it. When you didn't let words hurt you. You just kind of carried on with your stuff, and that was it. Somebody said something dumb, you're like, and you just keep doing your thing. Like it was whatever. He could say whatever he wanted to you, and you'd be like, all right, chief, and you keep doing your thing. Just anything,
Right.
like good thing,
How
bud.
dare
Like,
you be so insensitive and use the word chief in your terminology, sir? No, I'm just,
I'm
To a
ex-military.
First
man.
Nation woman.
yeah,
too.
to a First Nation woman. Like that is.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, all right. I'm
No, I'm
almost
totally
on
kidding.
the whole ex-military context, but I mean, you want to put me on the crucifix for that? I guess I can only
I
try to
talked
redeem
about
myself so much.
gender
but, you know.
reveal nuclear balloons, so it's okay.
You know what? Yeah, actually, you were a little
Yeah,
spicier.
yeah, you started off fucking
Yeah, you-
big.
Kinda
I woke
dropped
up and
off.
chose violence.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, 100% woke up and just chose the path of violence. Just fucking committed
All
for
right,
the day.
Kyle. I shotgunned a monster. I punched a hole through a wall to
Fucking
prep
just-
myself for
It
a
was a
Kyle's.
concrete wall too, not even drywall. Like she fucking went through cinder brick. Swear for emphasis. Ching. I don't
broke
care.
out of my igloo. Like,
Mhm. Well, and like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a modern igloo, right? Like it's a concrete one, so she had to like punch through the brick.
that's my brother's Twitch is the concrete igloo, and we stream on Thursdays. Not even joking.
I'm still dead convinced that it's really a bug front and.
oh my god. Okay, so I had no idea about that stuff. When I wrote the name Eskimo Libertarian, I'm like, I'm an Eskimo and a Libertarian. Like, that was literally
Yeah. Can we delve into whatever this is you keep referencing? Because I have no idea what the hell you're talking about when you say the like I understand what a boog reference is. Like, yeah, whoa, like Electric Boogaloo too, hell yeah. But like what is this specific reference that I'm missing here?
big igloo. So it was like another way to not be censored. And there's like big luau.
Mhm.
But like instead of saying boogaloo, saying big igloo
yeah. Okay. There we
is
go.
like, yeah. So that
Okay.
was like how
Let's
it's
click in.
explained to me.
Well, because they got taken down in mass by a coalition of the federal government and social media, all like in one day. It was like one large fell swoop. I think they
Just
deleted
no
like
more boog.
40,000 accounts.
Yeah.
So it
Okay, that makes sense. And I wasn't sure that like I had no idea there was actually like a connotation there, but that makes perfect sense. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like big igloo, Eskimo, like
Just the whole train
it's-
over, but
right.
still,
Yeah. That's kind of how that. And then I'd seen other people too. They thought that was that reference. And then they had started a group and it was like Eskimo Engineers of Liberty or something like I don't know, some crazy stuff.
Like,
And I'm like,
right
no,
out there, like-
I'm actually an Eskimo. And then like I also get dinged all the time and people report me all the time saying that I'm extremely racist. And I'm like, that's a Canadian thing. Like the whole like Eskimo word, you probably hear that. Like it's Inuit. It's like, well, in Canada, usually it is Inuit. That's like the main tribe. But like in Alaska, you're not going to see as many Inuit. You're going to see Inupiaq. You're going to see Yupik and like different tribes. So you're like, yeah, I totally
Well,
know that.
no, I do. No, the face is for something else entirely. Yeah.
What?
I don't know why. It makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense. Cha-ching. A lot of Canadians are actually racist. Like it's the weirdest fucking concept. But like
Well,
I don't
you're the old couple in the top. Like old people are.
living above it. Well, it's kind of, but like I don't think it'd be the Canadians reporting it. That's why I'm like, because they're probably like, yeah, that's fucking funny. Like they're probably laughing about it. But no, that is the thing though. Like, yeah, because there are the different peoples of First Nations upbringing there. So I mean, like there's different, I guess like tribes or reservations or wherever you come from, whoever you belong with there. So yeah, that's for the most part. Like we try not to say Eskimo flat out because for the most part it is an Inuit population. So I can see where you're coming from with that because I have heard that before. Like it's Inuit. Like, well, what if they're not? Like they're just Northern Faring First Nation. Like, is there just a term for that? That's Eskimo, right? Like.
Right. And then in Alaska, you have the World Eskimo Indian Olympics. And then you have a bunch of other like Eskimo things, and we still have like the Bureau of Indian Affairs and all that. And I don't know, my big thing is like, I get frustrated when there's social justice warriors and stuff. And they're like, you're Inuit. I'm like, I'm not even Inuit. Like, that's not my tribe.
I hate how ignorant they are and they're trying to fight ignorance. Like it's just the ultimate
Like, I think I know what I
hypocrisy.
am.
Well,
Well,
no, you actually don't. Okay,
Well-
because they think so little of you. in truth, they think so little of you that they have to be your savior, that they don't think you actually know your ancestry, and so I mean that's really what it boils down to, like them believing that black people can't get an ID, like and
Oh
shit like
God,
that,
yeah.
yeah,
I
I'll go back a little bit later. You mentioned the people like not wanting to accept what you actually are. In the summer there, I was a roofer for a little bit there. My mom is from Mexico. So I go dark. Like I get dark in the summer. And I've had quite a few First Nations people come up to me and be like, "Hey buddy, what res are you from?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 like don't get me wrong, kinda, but like way south, man." And they're like, "No, no, no, like dude, 100%. Like you got to have family or something." And I'm like, "No, bro, like trust me. I'm white as shit in the sun in the winter. I just tan really well cuz my mom is from Mexico." And they're like, "Are you sure, dude? Like please just believe me, please. Come on, like just accept it." Like I am, don't get me wrong, technically I am still that little tiny sliver of First Nations, yeah, but not up here. Just no, like, "Oh, you look like you're Cree, bro." Like, no, I don't know, like Aztec, all right? Like totally different, bro. Like
punch
there's
in, grab the heart, rip it out. That
like savages popping up in the
Kalima
temple,
sucks.
kick him down the stairs, sun god,
Yeah.
jaguar pelts, obsidian swords, like that shit, not Iroquois, like
yeah, no, for sure. And it's kind of funny when people come to my page and say, like, with like the whole social justice warrior stuff.
Mhm.
Usually, my response to those people is like, don't, because I look at their bios sometimes, and this one lady said, anti-racist, ally, all this other stuff, and I said, don't be so anti-racist that you're going against the very people you claim to be an ally for. And
Mhm.
she didn't respond after that, but it was just like, lady, I'm
It-
talking about like what my elders have told me.
yeah,
I'm gonna
like
listen to my family. I'm gonna listen to my elders.
no, like sorry, you might somewhat have a grasp on it, but I legitimately know. So just take my word on it if that's cool. Like if I could just ask you to take the leap of faith. Just try and believe the words, in the words of Chris Tucker, try and believe the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Right, and the true etymology of the word Eskimo, a lot of people are like, oh, it means raw meat eater, or it means snow eater, or a few other things. I mean, it actually is. I can't remember the specific tribe, but there is like it comes from another set of First Nation individuals that called like Inuit people Eskimo, and it means someone who laces up their snowshoes.
Okay, yeah.
And so and it's more on, like, the East Coast. I'm trying to remember the exact tribe. I believe it starts with a M. But, yeah, that's where that word comes from, is someone who laces up their snowshoes, and people are like, "Oh, well, they said it in a
What?
derogatory way," and they would be like, "You Eskimos." I'm like, "Okay, well, like, not the term, but, like, the actual, policies and whatnot that were put into place to cause the residential schools and everything. You should be mad at the government for putting those policies in place, not because they use the word Eskimo. Like, let's actually, like, it's kind of what I was talking about. Like, let's actually talk about the bad actors, the actual villains, and hold them accountable and not vilify something else. It's like, I mean, Eskimo is a word of endearment up here in Alaska, honestly. Like,
Know that it's not so much here, but
right.
like we still understand for the most part. Like that's because we are familiar with multiple different forms of First Nations, right? Like there's
Right.
Cree, there's Ojibwe, there's Iroquois, Huron, just to name four off the top of my head that are around me. Like I know people that are of that descent, and like it's an easier concept to be like, okay, well, yeah, Eskimo is like a broad term, but I think that's why they try to avoid using Eskimo as a broad term, because there are the individual like tribes or reservations that have their own descent, and we're trying not to just like generalize it. But even then, like I think that's like you were saying, it's more of a social justice kind of push these days. There, like I don't know any First Nations people that would be like upset for just being classified as First Nations because they weren't sure exactly where they were from.
Unless they're
Like
like
I haven't.
social
Right.
media magnets that specifically are aimed at, being upset about the thing.
Yeah, like
Right.
if they have like a Facebook profile that's specifically like the Cree warrior, then it's pretty safe to assume that they're Cree. But
Right.
like apart from that, yeah, like there's no reason to. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
Right.
wild.
And I have no problem telling people about like Yupik and Yupik culture, what it sounds like, all that other stuff, where it's located and the people and all that. Like as much as I know it, there is a lot of knowledge that has been lost, and so and I'm not as well versed in the Yupik language as I would like to be, but that's actually changing. They've like created these apps, almost like a Yupik Duolingo in a sense,
All right.
and they're bringing it back. In fact, I'm not a Nupiak, but they created this video game recently, and you're like this little Eskimo boy, and you have a fox, and you have to like battle
What?
against like Inupiaq mythological creatures, and like you have to follow Inupiaq stories,
What
and it's really cool.
what engine is this on? Like what
Oh
was it
man,
built on?
I just heard about it recently.
Like,
I wish I could
I'm about to ask,
remember.
like, if they're like actually based in folklore and like what the history is behind it. This guy, what engine is it? Like,
Well, no, because she said it was based on the mythology. She was selling the
Yeah.
game to me right there. All right,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm like,
Wait,
man, I gotta.
let me
interested.
look it
Yeah, I
up
wanna hear
because
more,
it's
yeah.
actually really well done. And it's worth Never Alone. So if you look up Never Alone,
See, this is sounding better and better. Never
yeah, it's released for Xbox. And there's the others
2015
listed.
release.
Yeah, and I think they're making a sequel as well
Oh, dude, this
because
looks
this one did so
dope.
well. Yeah, the colors and everything, it was really well done. And the stories, I recommend it. I've seen other people play it and it looks amazing. But yeah, Xbox, PlayStation 4, PC, on Steam.
See, and like
It was
that's
built on Unity. Thank you.
oh, which version of Unity? I have bad
Uh,
experience with Unity from Tarkov.
Yo, no, okay, that's no. They're no. Listen, I'm not a fan of Unity. All right, I prefer Unreal Engine. All right, as
But no,
as, as a developer. But
Their implementation of Unity is jank. I
yo,
know.
yeah. I mean, if you don't implement Unity correctly, you really
you end up
don't
with
implement
Tarkov.
Unity correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck
it's
was I gonna
just
say
such great artwork and everything. So
It
yeah.
looks
Yeah, well,
like
like-
a Frozen movie, and in a
That's-
game.
That's perfect because like kids these days, you can't get them interested in books and old culture and stuff like that. You can't sit them around and have them talk with the family and learn these stories and stuff. But sit them in front of a screen, give them a controller, say, "Here, try this." So then they can learn the history.
That
They
was
can
the
learn some of the
mentality behind
culture.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's clean. I like that.
Yeah, and it's just so well done, and it's so wholesome, and
Well, yeah, like
yeah.
it's not like Call of Duty or like these other games you're just running around just like murdering stuff because you can. Like there's like an actual story. It's a good story too. I would imagine.
Holy shit, dude! That's how the LP brings about not aggression principles. No, I'm serious. Like if you created no, because like how how Spike talked about, you show people the benefit of this ideology, right? There hasn't been really a video game aimed at that.
I
Cities
can't
and
choose
Islands.
the bad like option. Like if you can choose how you talk to the NPCs, I always choose the nicest option. I can't be mean to them. I like feel guilt.
I'm
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm like,
no
I can't
NPCs.
be mean,
It's just all people.
right?
Oh, so metaverse.
Yes, but like maybe there's like some sort of consequence for their bad actions. You've been deducted
Like the
10
police
cents.
come in and beat you.
Oh, no, I mean,
I went to
Yeah.
answer a message. I heard that though. That damn. The poor American police system is just scarred, you folks. Like it's such a misrepresentation of what the police are supposed to be. Like you go anywhere
It
else
really
on the
is.
planet, and they're like, well, I mean, apart from maybe some sketchy places, but any like first world country for the most part on the planet, you'll see like actual cops where you can like walk up, strike conversation, they'll be chill. Like they're not just gonna shoot people. Half of them don't even carry guns. Like
well,
I really like the mentality in Europe where like police cars are bright colored. You can see where they are. Their uniforms are bright. Here they're like stealth, matte black. Like we have unmarked cars, and they're like waiting on
yeah.
the side of the road and behind a bush, and you don't know
I
where they
literally
are.
have to watch through my rear view like constantly, and I'm like a Ford, a Ford Explorer comes up, and I'm like, fuck, is that a cop? Like I gotta check my speed, and it actually distracts me from
Yeah.
just driving down the fucking road.
I've seen people with vehicles like that, and like they have a bumper sticker that says "Not a police
Not a
car."
cop. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those. Yep.
Well,
And
and then
like
you have the
honestly, it has
FO.
to do with the roof rack. Look for the roof rack is the big thing.
Well, no,
There's
because
no
now
roof rack on police cars.
No, yeah.
they'll put
They
roof
changed
racks
it?
on them, dude.
Oh.
Dude, I'm telling you, they have a freaking minivan that they drive around in my county. Okay,
Yeah,
like,
there's-
and it is a patrol vehicle. That's the problem. It should never be a patrol vehicle because, and here's my thing, and I've done this. I will not pull over until I confirm through dispatch that it is a police officer, because we had a case here where a guy had put lights on his car and was pulling over young women and trying to,
Oh, I've heard about that.
and trying to like get them in his car. Luckily, in our county, he wasn't able to get anyone to, come with him. But these were on dark roads, like, not
It's
very
happened
many
here, too.
vehicles.
Yeah.
And the fact that can even be done, just because you don't know, because it's an unmarked vehicle. There should be no police officer in an unmarked vehicle pulling people over for traffic stops. It's just, it's absurd.
I've got one better for you. So I can't remember exactly when it was. The past couple of years ago, somebody in New Brunswick, over on the east coast of Canada, 1-to-1 recreated an RCMP cruiser and just drove around with it and was like pulling people over. I can't remember exactly if he did anything or if anybody actually like believed him or what all came of it. I just know that they found the cruiser, found him, and he's in jail. He's like, yo, he's facing real time for that. But he legitimately,
And the
like,
the only way those people ever get caught is that they pull over a cop, and the cops
And I think-
that's every single one that I know that's been arrested has been arrested because they either pulled over a cop or they were in a more public place and they tried to do it and a cop was just there and he's like, hey, you don't work for us.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think he tried to pull over a cop and he was like, who the fuck are you? And what the hell is that? Ching, swear jar. But yeah, no, it's like right, like the roll, but like the bush bar on the front, the lights, like he even had a unit number of a decommissioned car on his car. Like he went so far, like everything about it was fucking
This dude on X
bang.
Games mode. No.
Like, it was intense,
Jeez.
man. And like it makes you wonder, like how often does that happen? Like unmarked cars, it's even easier. Like if people are going to such extremes to like mounting lights and sirens, like he even had the shield in between the front and the back seat in his car. Like he like 1-to-1 recreated this
Well,
RCMP
he probably just
cruiser.
bought like
No,
you
that's
can't
the thing.
okay.
No, it didn't have the powertrain or none of the actual driving components were there. It was all the cosmetics.
So he probably
car
bought,
itself-
bought old ones and just swapped out parts, rebuilt them.
That's what we're thinking. Yeah, we're thinking he just grabbed like a whatever tier Impala from a dealership, and he went and he just started stripping parts off these other RCMP
scary.
Impalas. Oh yeah, the one big thing, the good kind of caveat with it is those RCMP cruisers are built different. You cannot get a civilian car that will perform like that unless you're dropping like 150 grand on something. Like I think they're super and turbocharged. They're V8s. They pump out way more power than anybody should. If I'm not mistaken, they're all-wheel drive. Like they are disgusting vehicles. So like that is one big difference, and like that's kind of the one nice part about it is he didn't have that kind of power at his disposal. But with that being said, you can buy decommissioned police vehicles and have like roughly 80% of that power. And we're kind of lucky that he didn't do that. Not that I don't even know if he did anything. I think he just kind of pulled people over as like a lol, haha, whatever. It's I'm a cop, blah, and then just like walked away. But yeah, like the fact that was a thing, and like you can get reasonably close if you buy the old ones. It's just you can't get like all the components, like the specific turbos, the specific chips that they use to set the ECM and everything.
But I think you're focusing on the wrong thing because he had a lot of power. He had the power
yeah.
of their
Oh, yeah.
authority while he was behind the wheel of that car.
Oh, yeah.
Like-
Yeah, well, like, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he had like an actual uniform or just like a vest or something, but like he had like the whole kit. Like he was pretending he was an RCMP officer.
That's really scary. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah,
it's weird that people like do that and like want to wield that power. And I've also seen like not with cops, but like people pretending to be a Navy SEAL too.
yeah, like
and
the
that's a
stolen
big thing
valor, like,
here.
that pisses me off. There was actually there was a dude up here actually a few years ago, at Ottawa on the Parliament Hill. There was a dude in Well, okay, so he was in a uniform. His hair and his facial hair and his actual head hair were out of spec. They were not within uniform standard. His glasses were not uniform standard. He had ear piercings and a bunch of his like badges and like shit that he had on his tunic, even right down to the medals, made no sense whatsoever. Like he had medals that he would never have touched, like stuff from like previous deployments or like weird like embassy postings and like like sub-Saharan Africa or like just weird stuff that he shouldn't have had, and he ended up getting roasted for it. And I think they ended up trying him for impersonating a military official, but that pisses me off to no end because he walked around and told all these people just this nonsense. Oh yeah, I served here and I did this. Like no, you didn't. You never had a record. You're a civilian who just made an ass of himself, and anybody that ever believed you, like
Right,
now they're gonna
exactly.
look at somebody from the military and think of you. Like, congratulations, thank you.
Yeah, there's guys that do that here, and there's actually a YouTube channel, and this guy like confronts these people, and he was a SEAL himself, and he's like, "Oh, like what?" And he'll ask them specific questions. I haven't served, so it's like I don't fully understand the questions, but like
Yeah,
he
but
was like,
like,
"Oh, so what group were you part of?" All this other
yeah,
stuff, and we
which
were
year
like,
were
"Oh,
you?
well, I don't remember." He's like, "Really? Because you cited it every morning and every night for and he'll say for how many weeks he had to do it, all the and you don't remember that."
Mhm.
And, like, he'll, like, nail them, and every once in a while, they'll be like, "Yeah, you got me," and then other times, they would just try and double down. They'll be like, "No, dude,
Like,
stop.
it was a
You've been
special
caught."
unit. Like, you don't understand. It's different
Right,
regulations. Like, that's not how it works.
Well,
Like, it's the
right.
military, buddy. Like,
I usually like I don't have that problem with people stealing my valor because they're usually just on the side of the road picking up trash. But
Or, like,
in their
when they
orange
thank me for
jumpsuits.
my service. Shows
Yeah,
all the time.
uh,
wild.
Veterans Day should apply to all veterans, though, and I mean, including all veterans of the war on drugs. That is my vehement standing point, right? Because war has been declared, and I am an actor. I have been an actor in throughout my life in that war, okay, and I should be given recognition, right? I don't ask for much, just free Happy Meal, all right, once a year. That's it.
You want that Olive Garden dinner?
I'm sure with inflation, Olive Garden has brought it back down to breadsticks only. So,
No, I could get behind like a day specifically for the recognition of like police or like border enforcement and stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to Veterans Day, I think that's a military thing.
it was a joke. It was a joke.
I know. I'm just thinking about that. Like, could make a
I
day
want
for
my
that. though.
breadsticks. My breadsticks.
Well, it was a veteran of an American war. All right. All right.
Well, I'm
might have been-
poor, and there's a war on poverty right now, so no.
Hey,
Yeah.
Actually, I'm
we're all
pretty-
active combatants.
Yeah.
right. Oh god.
I was so angry when I went to go do my taxes because it was the most I've made in a year, and I only got to keep a quarter, less than a quarter of it, like less than a fifth.
I have to do taxes.
Dude.
Yeah. And
like,
you guys live in capitalist America. I live in socialist Canada.
No, sir, sir.
I will say what's nice about Alaska is that we don't have a state income tax, and we don't have a state sales
tax?
tax, property tax. Property is normally by borough, though. Well, we have boroughs, while a lot of places have counties and parishes. That's all the same thing. We're boroughs. We do have a borough property tax, which sucks. But we do have less taxes, I would say, than a lot of other states.
And a borough tax, I mean, like, I don't like taxes, but a borough tax, at least that money is going more directly to your immediate community, potentially, like to something that will benefit you
Yeah,
and your neighbors,
In the borough building, I can go and like be like, why are we spending money on this? It is close enough. Whereas if I were to go to DC, you know how far away DC is? If I need to protest against federal stuff, like it's
about
thousands,
45 minutes for me.
thousands.
All right.
Well, okay, it's thousands, and over 60% of the state our state is owned by the federal government. So like federal regulations and everything are like the federal government rules over most of Alaska.
Mhm.
So it really sucks. And then even our state capital, it's in Juneau. The only way to get there is by boat or by plane. So I can't drive to my state capital and
You
protest
can't. You can't even
I have to take
congregate
a
there to
flight.
protest. Yeah.
or find a boat, like a ferry.
Hey, well, I mean, don't feel too bad because I live 45 minutes from DC and it doesn't change anything. So, and now, they had a fence around it for a year. You couldn't even potentially have a secretary hear your voice, so it
Even better
doesn't
yet.
matter.
Even
Right.
better yet, if you make it to the Capitol, there's no guarantees that they're going to listen. Look what happened with us. We sat outside the Capitol. We held a block party, a very nice casual one with barbecues, bouncy castles, and street hockey, and they put the fucking riot police on us with tear
Jesus.
gas and horses. So yeah, you can't even do that anymore. You can't even
You
peacefully
could go and
protest anymore.
honk.
No,
the
'cause
honking.
you have any idea? So many people got charged for that.
Yeah.
Truckers got charged. Like they went so over the top, and he's actually still being investigated for that. And I really hope he
Wow.
gets tried for the traitor that he is.
Yeah.
Because he
The-
legitimately he put foreign troops on our soil, and nobody's talking about that. A lot of
Really? I
people- you
haven't heard
talk to-
about that.
You talk to people from Ottawa that interacted with those cops. Most of them didn't speak English. They didn't have a patch, no designation, nothing. Just beige uniforms. No idea. Just
I had
there.
no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
What'd they speak?
Who knows? They couldn't communicate. We don't fucking know
Probably.
what they spoke.
From Trudeau's real dad's country.
Yeah, say from fucking Cuba. Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
like,
hey, reel it in there, dog. All right. You don't need
no, I've said,
uh,
no. That's something I've said on record. I've said that publicly. I'll say it. I'll walk up to him to his face. That's Castro's kid. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
He looks like a young Castro.
It's Castro's kid. I don't.
it's-
Have you seen
I'm not
comparison
joking.
photos?
Yes.
Yeah, no,
yes.
that is Castro's kid. I'm not joking.
Isn't it
I'm-
like 70% like
genetic
He looks
match with
nothing like
Christopher.
his
Yeah.
dad.
No. And you know what? You know how many pictures there are of his mama hanging off Castro like they had just done the nasty 5 minutes prior? No, they were known swingers. All three of them. It's internationally known. They did adult stuff together. That is Castro's kid.
While her
Ah.
husband held the camera and everything.
oh my
Sat in
god.
the closet, peeked through
For the
shutters.
cause.
Vive le
Vive
Canada.
revolution.
Fucking PET. That whole family's just a joke.
Oh my god.
I digress. We're circling here. I'm gonna start going off.
We're
on
not
this. We
even
should probably-
circling, but yeah.
We should
We're only
probably.
speaking the
oh
truth.
shit! We gotta say the keyword thing or whatever for the fucking
Oh,
giveaway.
yes.
I feel
Okay,
so
well,
bad that
which-
I waited this long to do it.
Yes. Okay. So we're I'll let you go into it. It's your idea there.
Yeah, so we're giving away a Steam key for Hogwarts Legacy because I know I'm gonna be playing it. I don't know if Dog is. Yeah, but I'm gonna be playing it on my streaming channel. And thought it. Oh my god, dude! You know what's funny? Hold on. Now that you say that, I have a fake account that's my admin account in the council because we all got tagged like by Facebook as being a hateful group. It's terrible, right? Like the Council of Kyle was considered against community standards, like the name Council of Kyle for the longest time.
Several times over.
Yeah, this is like our 8th iteration, and it hasn't been for things that like the things that they should have deleted us for, they didn't, and then it was like dumb things like it. But yeah, okay. So we created. I used the Council of Kyle website webmail server to make everybody new accounts. And I have this one that does the auto admin stuff, and it like replies to people. They're like, "Hey, thanks for this. I know this is your first post." Like everybody's like fucking nerd, like on every post. So like that was just funny as shit. Like,
Dude, okay, I didn't know that was a fucking automated account. I thought that was you legitimately just sitting there. Like every time somebody joined, I was like, this guy's fucking dedicated. Holy hell.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I am fucking dedicated. Like somebody,
Well,
dude, like,
yeah,
I
but
got
that's
real
like-
emotional. Like the other day, somebody was like, shout. I think it was Spears. Spears said, like, shout out to Miller. Like, he really puts his all into this shit. He's made this, runs the support group, and he's just about the Kyles and the council and bettering us and like, just moving us forward. And yeah, like, dude, I started tearing up the other day. It was messed up. But okay, Hogwarts.
Yes. So, did we like my suggestion from yesterday?
Which was that?
Only Cox, only KOKS, Council of Kyle.
Oh wait, what? What? Hold on.
For
Hold on.
the code for the Hogwarts key, only KOKS, only Cox.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, okay. Well, I didn't even get to that part yet, you son of a bitch. All right. So, yeah. So I'm giving away a Steam key for Hogwarts Legacy. I guess the code word is going to be only Cox. Okay. So you got to what did I say in the terms? Hold on. I don't even remember now, dude.
My brother.
Dude, I know, but I can't say differently than what the terms are, because then, like, that violates my own terms, and then, so, okay, message our Twitter or Facebook account, the code word, which is only Cox, which is ONLYKOKS. So
Yes.
message our Twitter or Facebook account, and please follow as you do that. If you're not already following, it'd be greatly appreciated, but not required. And I'll probably cut that off. A week from today, so that people have time to listen to this and then do that, and then everybody that did that, there's an app that I can put out all your names on a big spinny wheel, and we'll roll it, and whoever wins gets the Steam key, and yeah.
Now, there is one thing I do want to specify. This code is a code. Do not send me pictures of your phallus thinking that it will count as a submission because it is an only KOK. Please. Only KOKS is how you tag us. I swear to God, if I open that inbox and I'm flooded with phallus, I'm
Or
closing it.
chickens.
It's over. Chickens are acceptable. I'll accept roosters, but I'd still rather it has to come with the only Cox tag. You can send me roosters, that's fine, but I swear to God.
An image of me cocking my window.
Like anything other than phallic. I don't want to see phallic shit in there, all right? No PPs, okay? Keep your PP to yourself.
That's fair.
We might just need to remove your access to the messages then, because I would find that fucking hilarious, as long as it came with the code word.
All right, okay, so
no, I'm joking. No. Let's just
put a
stop.
tag
No,
in there
no.
then. Just put a tag that I included a cockpick, and then I'll make sure that he opens it. I'll steer clear. You can spare me the warning. You can do like only cock submission plus a photo, and I'll be like, nope, that's you, bro. Like you can check that, verify that.
Don't
Like,
worry. On our upcoming website, we will feature your only cock. No.
Oh, I like that. No, I like that. Fuck that. Everybody that sends me a picture of their pee-pee, it's going on the site when we build it. We're building an 18 plus section, and your penis is going on the site. That's what's happening. If you send me
Don't
Word.
be an
Speaking of
Usyk.
cocks, that is so Usyk is the word for a walrus baculum, which is the bone inside of a pee-pee. So, like, it's a saying in Alaska, like, don't be an Usyk.
don't be a boner bone, man. Like, what are you doing?
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's it. Don't be a new sick.
I have like a
But-
billion stickers. So.
Oh my
That's
god.
awesome.
Okay. Do you want to say your social media plugs for anybody that's listening? Probably wrap this up afterwards.
Yeah, if you look up Eskimo Libertarian I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on Twitter it's Eskimo Liberty because there's a character limitation on there, but I'm also on there as well. But yeah, I'm on all those. I started a TikTok and I don't maintain it, so I'm probably gonna delete it because of China. No, but yeah.
No, I will say
I
after,
never had it
after
because
that
of the-
report came out, because the original report that independent report that I followed ended up being absolutely wrong, and your data is being accessed from their Singapore server by the Chinese government directly, and my tune has totally changed on that, because I was, again, Trump was talking about banning it, and I'm like, dude, no, like, you can't ban it. It's it's not state run. Here's the audit, but no, it is sending user. But at the same time, it's kind of hypocritical, because Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they literally sell your data to companies that don't have to verify that they aren't, that don't have to have an audit and verify that they aren't directly related to the Chinese National Party. So
right. So yeah, if you go onto Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I'm on those ones actively, and I promote, like, even though I do post memes, there's a lot of stories that I also promote, and I do a lot of things. So like the memes are the tip of the iceberg, because people know me as like a libertarian meme lady. It's like I actually do a lot. I'm
the tip
actually,
of the igloo. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, I do a lot of stuff. I'm very active. I'm active in my activism. I go and I speak at hall meetings. City, borough, state. And I help work with Spike Cohen about bringing stuff to light, and I just do a whole bunch of stuff. But I like to show memes because I try to add humor to. I keep it wholesome, so like talking like this, I'll say dark humor, but most of my stuff is pretty wholesome.
Oh, and memes are like the modicum of gaining traction on the internet. Like, I mean, literally, if it weren't for memes, we wouldn't have any listeners. But
That's fair. That's fair.
We're just such a and like Kyle's in general are just such memeable things that it's it helps.
Meme lords.
Yes, yeah, and
well, thank you so much, guys, for having me on here, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm not asked to go on to podcasts often, probably because I cuss too much, or I have too much dark humor or something. I don't know.
Shit.
This is your place. You want to be as fucking crass and as just god awful crude as you want. This is the place.
See his mood swings. See his mood swings. We're gonna be
it's because that's when we started, right? So it's the Spike Cohen thing. That's what I figured we'd try and stick with it. But like as we go, like I'm getting tired of the ching, and it is going to cost me a lot of money to do this.
That's fair. In this economy, we can't.
Yeah.
Do this.
Oh, what do you mean in this economy? I can't afford that. I can't even afford cheese. What are you talking about? Say
right. Exactly. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Definitely welcome to come by in the future. Yep. Thank you very much for the valued listeners. You guys are awesome. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, which isn't much. You know the routine. Try and stay safe.
Goodbye. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to leave that. Oops.
I was like, okay, I guess we're going.
Just like that. Okay, so I can